very much. Call Alie Ethier to the stand, please.
Alexandra Ethier, last name's Ethier.
Thank you. And you stated your full name. What do most people call you?
Alie.
And how old are you, Alie?
I'm 19 years old.
What's your date of birth?
August 18th, 1997.
Where did you grow up?
Franklin, Mass.
And what high school did you go to?
Franklin High School.
What year did you graduate?
2015.
Do you live with your parents?
I currently live with my parents.
And are you going to school?
Yes, I go to Southern New Hampshire University.
What are you studying there?
I'm in the Bradley 3 Honors Program, and I'm studying business administration.
And what is that honors program? What does that mean?
It's basically just a fancy way of saying I'm getting my degree in 3 years.
Okay. So you plan to graduate a year earlier than the average person going to college?
Yes.
And what do you hope to do when you get out?
Not quite sure yet.
What are you doing for the summer?
I'm interning with Stonyfield.
And what are you doing there?
I am in the community marketing field, so just community marketing.
So I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up as loud as you can so we can all hear you. And I'm going to ask you now, you told us what you're doing this summer, I'm going to ask you what you did for work, if anything, during the summers during high school.
So when I was in high school, I was a camp counselor at Everyday Physical Education.
And what is everyday physical education?
It's just a summer camp that a few of my family friends, they knew with the family, and they started a camp, and that was held every summer, and I went to it.
And is there an acronym for that camp? Is it called EPE by a lot of people?
Yep, it's called EPE.
And where is it located?
Plainville, Massachusetts.
In what months does EPE run?
I believe it's the end of June to August sometime.
And prior to working as a camp counselor, did you attend that camp did you go there when you were younger as well?
Yes, I did.
And how many years were you a counselor there?
Probably 4 years.
Now, in addition to having counselors at that camp, are there also people who intern there or sort of just help out as well?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you now, prior to the summer of 2014, through EPE, did you come to know someone by the name of Michelle Carter?
Yes.
In using 2014 as sort of a particular time frame, can you tell the court how long before the summer of 2014 you think you met her?
I don't have an exact year or number, but I knew her as
The general nature of your conversation. What types of things you guys talked about at the beginning, if you remember?
I don't remember the beginning of the conversation.
And at some point thereafter, on July 12th, and fair to say, there were a fair amount of text and messages between you and her on that particular day. Mm-hmm. Do you remember a time on July 12th at night where there was inquiry about whether or not you had a boyfriend? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you recall whether or not you asked her if she had a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Do you remember what her response was? And drawing your attention now to
Leading at this point.
Are you sure?
Leading, Your Honor. So
Sustained.
perspective.
Were you asked her on July 12th, 2014?
I don't know the date. I don't remember.
And have you looked at some of these text messages, ma'am?
Yeah.
If I were to show you a printout of some messages, might it refresh your memory to the date that you were texting with her?
Yeah.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. And does that refresh your memory as to when Ms. Carter began to engage you in conversation via text message.
Yes.
And again, Your Honor, this is a portion of what's been stipulated to that I'm showing the witness for the record.
Okay.
Now, on the night of July 12, 2014, around 10:21, does Ms. Carter respond to you about some information about her boyfriend?
Objection. Leading at this point.
Well,
Reading text messages.
I'm going to allow a little latitude, but be mindful of your obligations, counsel.
I understand that. Instead, I can simply put them up on the screen and she can see them.
Go ahead. I don't want to interfere with your manner of presentation.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely, Your Honor. At this point, I would, since they're already agreed to, if I could please put them on the screen now.
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Great. Are you able to see that, ma'am? The top there? Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you. And for the record, would that be a text on July 12, 2014 at 10:21 p.m.?
Yes.
And that is, you would agree with me, to your phone number right there.
Yep.
And what does Michelle Carter send you at 10:21 p.m. on July 12, 2014?
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Thank you, that's nice of you. Well, I actually do have a boyfriend right now, but he's going through a tough time.
Then continue on, ma'am. Is any information given as to who he is?
She says, yeah, haha. And he lives kind of down the Cape, so you probably don't know him. His name's Conrad.
And is there further information there, again now on July 12, 2014, 10:30 at night?
She says, haha, yeah, the IDK, he's in a bad place right now.
IDK, did that mean something to you?
Just I don't know.
Is that a short version of I don't know for younger people than me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, after July 12th, was there, just yes or no, was there continued text messaging between you and her on July 13th, 2014?
Yes.
And at some point, ma'am, do you receive a text message from Michelle Carter that drew your attention? Is there something specific she started telling you on the 13th that drew your attention?
Not that I can particularly remember. It's kind of a little blurry.
Well, during the text message on the 12th, there was mention of a boyfriend. Was that person ever mentioned again in the following days?
I believe so, yes.
And what did you learn about him through Michelle Carter?
I just learned kind of what happened in her eyes.
And what did she tell you what happened in her eyes?
She told me that he committed suicide.
Now, when you learned that from Michelle Carter, when she told you he committed suicide, what did you do?
I was concerned, so I talked to my dad.
And without going into the details of what your dad may have said to you, after you talked to your dad, did you say anything to Ms. Carter?
I just questioned kind of what was happening.
And what types of questions did you pose, ma'am?
I kind of just remember asking what his name was, so I could, look it up.
Now, at this point, ma'am, you would agree with me, only she had begun to text you on. At this point, when Ms. Carter tells you her boyfriend committed suicide, how many days have you been talking to her?
Only a handful, if that.
And around July 16th, do you recall if you were still texting with Ms. Carter?
I don't remember.
I may see if
You may.
Thank you. I'm going to show you some from the same stream of messages from July 16th. I'll see if that refreshes your memory.
Yes.
If I may, Your Honor. Now, on July 16, 2014, at 7:46 p.m., does she send you a text?
Yes.
Can you please read it?
Yeah, and I was on the phone talking to him when he killed himself. I'm heard him dying.
So now, July 16th, how many days has Michelle Carter been talking to you via text message? July 16th.
She started on the 12th. That would be before.
So now, having spoken to her for 4 days and her telling you that she heard her boyfriend die on the phone, what was your reaction?
I was very concerned.
And did you relay that to her?
I believe so.
Please
Yeah.
try to testify from your own memory first, ma'am, before you look to the numbers.
Let's just bring you back to that day.
Uh-huh.
You get that text message. Can you tell the court how you were feeling that day when you got that text message from her?
This specific one.
Sustained.
This specific one.
No, you.
How did you
need
feel
to
when you
answer.
got that
That
text
answer is stricken?
Well,
No, the last answer you just gave. Put another question.
how did you feel when you got that text message from her?
Sustained.
Did you say something back to her?
Okay.
Do you remember if you said something back?
Yeah.
Do you remember, without looking at the screen yet, do you remember essentially what you said back to her, or approximately what you said back to her?
I believe I offered support. I didn't really know how to console someone I didn't really know that well, but I tried from what I remember.
I'm going to draw your attention now to same date, July 16, 2014, 7:50 p.m. Can you read your response back?
Honestly, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I feel like you should talk to someone about it because I can't really help considering I don't know you very well, and I certainly don't know the situation very well.
And do you recall, again now, not looking at the screen for a second, do you recall if she responded to what you said to her?
Yes.
Do you remember approximately what she said?
No, I don't remember.
Mind reading on the next one then?
Yeah.
Same date, July 16th, now 7:53. Is there a response from a Michelle Carter?
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah, I have a therapist already. I've dealt with eating disorders since 2011, and I'm currently struggling with one now. So I already have a therapist. I talked to her about it yesterday.
Now, ma'am, after July 16th, or strike that, after July 13th, did you see Ms. Carter at EPE again?
Yes.
And in what capacity did you see Michelle Carter at EPE after July 13th, 2014?
Can you just reword the question?
Absolutely. That was a badly worded question. What was she doing when you saw her again after July 13th?
Well, she was just doing like a normal, like what kind of everyday what happened. She was doing.
So, I guess my question is, after July 13th, 2014, did she come back to work as a volunteer at EPE?
Yes.
And how many times after, sort of, you're getting these, using the text message we talked about as sort of a date and time, how many times after you got these text messages about her boyfriend, do you believe you continue to see her at EPE?
Probably saw her once.
And when you saw her that one time at EPE, how did she seem?
I didn't really notice anything out of the ordinary.
Did you continue on as a counselor at EPE for the rest of the summer?
Yes.
And after the one time you saw Michelle Carter at EPE that summer, after the text we talked about, did you see her again in person?
I don't believe so.
Drawing your attention now to September when school starts, where were you going to school?
Southern New Hampshire University.
And for a period of time, did you continue to receive text messages from Michelle Carter?
Wait, I think I was going to Franklin High. I was a senior, so Franklin High. Yeah, I'm going to high school still.
So during your senior year of high school, do you have a memory of whether or not you and Michelle Carter continued to text message for a period of time?
I don't remember.
After that one time, after these text messages started at EP, do you believe you ever saw her again in person during your senior year at Franklin?
I don't believe so.
And after that, you went to college?
Yeah.
And where did you go again?
Southern New Hampshire University.
And when you were there, did you see her at all there?
No.
Have you ever been to the defendant's house?
No.
Has she ever been to your house?
No.
Have you ever socialized with her outside of camp?
She came to one of my basketball games.
Did you socialize with her there?
After the game, I think we talked.
And when, could you tell the court an idea of when that is in relation to the other things we've been talking about?
Probably sometime while I was still working, and she was still working as well.
So sometime in approximately the summer of 2014?
I believe so.
After that time she came to your basketball game, did you ever socialize with her or go anywhere with her?
No.
When the time you socialized with her at the basketball game, can you tell us how she was?
I honestly don't remember.
Can I have one moment, please, Your Honor?
Of course.
Nothing further this time. Thank you very much.
Very much. Mr. Madeira?
Yes, let me, Your Honor.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. So, as you stated in your testimony with the Assistant District Attorney, you worked at a summer camp with Michelle in the summer of 2014, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. And you then began, at some point in July of 2014, a texting relationship with her. You texted back and forth with her in July of 2014, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Fair to say hundreds of times or so you texted back and forth from July of 2014 for 7 months thereafter?
I don't know about hundreds, but
Many times?
many
Fair to
times.
say?
Yep.
And she, in some of those texts you testified to in July of 2014, on or about from July 12th onward, she would text you about her thoughts about Conrad Boy and events surrounding his death. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And the Assistant District Attorney just asked you a question about specifically July 16, 2014. It was a question about a text message at 7:46 p.m. where you had stated on direct that she texted you, yeah, I was on the phone talking to him when he killed himself. I heard him dying. That we testified to earlier.
Yep.
Wasn't there a text just 3 minutes before that where she stated to you, quote, yeah, he told me everything. I'm the only one he told things to, which is why I feel so at fault because I should have gotten him more help. I just never thought he would actually do this. Do you recall that?
Not particularly.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem?
Of course.
Look at that. See if that refreshes your recollection.
The highlighted.
Yes.
And the date of this is 7/16, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just ask you to read the text message and highlight at July 16, 7:43 p.m.
Yeah, he told me everything. I'm the only one he told things to, which is why I feel so at fault because I should have got him more help. I just never thought he would actually do this.
Can I just have a second, Your Honor? Nothing further, Your Honor.
Are you admitting that those texts, or are you all set with the testimony?
I do have them on a CD, Your Honor. The
Okay.
complete set between the two of them.
No objection.
Thank you.
Is that by stipulation?
It is, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Marked as the next exhibit.
Read number 16 now.
I'm sorry, did you have any regret?
Just actually briefly, Your Honor. Back to that same text, so if we sort of get the context of the text messages I put in and he put in. So we're all talking about this. You would agree with me, we're all talking, all these texts that he asked you about and the last ones I asked you about were all July 16, 2014, correct?
Correct.
And if you could just look up in that same strain. Prior to that, on 7/16/2014 at 7:38, so this would be prior to the text message he just asked you about. What did she send you? Starting with I still.
I still can't believe it. Like I don't understand.
And Do you then ask a question here? The next one here? And sorry, my finger was shaking.
Yes.
And what did you ask?
Do you know why?
And did she respond?
Why what?
Did you respond?
Yes. Why he did it.
And then that's when she says, yeah, he told me everything. I'm the only one he told things to. Correct?
Yes.
So prior to saying that I just never thought he actually did it, she says, I still can't believe it, like I don't understand.
Yes.
Something else.
Thank you very much. Anything further? You step down, ma'am. Thank you for your assistance in this case. You are free to go. Lynn, do you have Ms. Rayburn, another witness?
Olivia Masalvo, please.
All right. Please call the individual in. To you. Please remain standing for a moment while you are sworn.
This matter before the court, swear testimony about to give you the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay. It's very important that you talk nice and loud. Everybody in the room is interested in what you have to say and hear you. So please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Olivia Lee Masalgo and M-O-S-O-L-G-O.
M-O-S.
O-L-G-O.
Thank you very much. You may proceed, Mr.
Thank you, Ron. Good morning, Olivia. Do you have a nickname by which you're called?
Libby.
And how old are you?
20.
What's your date of birth?
May 9th, 1997.
And keep your voice up nice and loud for us.
May 9th, 1997.
And where do you live?
Norfolk, Massachusetts.
Where did you grow up?
Norfolk, Massachusetts.
And what year did you graduate high school?
2015.
And what high school did you attend?
King Philip Regional High School.
Can you tell us about King Philip? When you say it's a regional high school, what towns or cities does it encompass?
Norfolk, Rentham, and Plainville.
And about approximately, in your year, 2015, how many were in the graduating class?
I think 270.
And generally, how many in the school, if you know, in the years that you attended?
Probably 1,000.
Did you play sports?
Yes.
And what sports did you play?
I played volleyball and softball.
And softball, how long did you play softball? When did you begin playing softball?
I began playing softball when I was in 5th grade, and then I stopped my junior year of high school in the middle.
So that's 5th grade, middle school?
But I started in elementary school.
It's fair to say that softball is a very big deal in King Philip and the Plainville area.
Yes.
Are there not only school teams, but also travel teams and area teams that you participated on?
Yes.
And what was the name of the team that you were on when you were in your middle school years?
King Philip Pride.
And again, was that just students that went to King Philip schools, or were there other students that would go and play on the team?
There were some other students, but it was mainly school free time.
And do you know Michelle Carter?
Yes.
How do you know Michelle Carter?
From softball in school.
So when did you first meet Michelle Carter?
In 7th grade.
How old do you think you would have been at that time?
13.
Now, you lived in Norfolk.
Yes.
Where did she live?
Plainville.
And how much distance between your home and hers by travel in the car?
Like 15 minutes. 20 minutes.
When you were in your middle school years, how would you describe your relationship with her?
We were friendly.
Friendly, but not close friends?
Yeah, from softball.
So would you see her normally when you were at softball activities, practices, and such?
Yes.
Did you ever socialize with her outside of that softball type team relationship?
Occasionally with the team, but not many times.
So was, when you would socialize, it was always in a group with other members of the team?
Usually.
And I know middle school, did you have a cell phone then?
I think so.
Okay. And when you would communicate with your team members, would you communicate by cell phone, texting, and that type of thing?
Yes.
Now, as you got older and began getting into your junior high and your high school years, did you still participate in softball?
Yes.
Did you defend it as well?
Yes.
And did you know at some point that she got sick?
Yes.
And when was that when she got sick?
It was, I know she was sick in middle school, and then in high school, then probably my sophomore year.
Okay. And when we say sick, what was it you knew that she was wrong with her?
I knew she had mental health disorder.
And you
And
know,
eating disorder.
now when you say eating disorder,
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
when you say eating disorder, do you ever see her weight go up and down?
Yes.
Now, at some point, did that affect her ability to play softball?
Yes.
And do you recall when it was that she did not play on the softball team with you?
I believe it was sophomore year.
And so now you're in high school, and are you you're in the same school as Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And how would you describe your relationship with her then? Was it different?
It was pretty much the same. We all grew closer as a team, so we saw more of each other because we practiced a lot.
And was there another girl that was on that team named Alice?
Yes.
And did you know Alice?
Yes.
Where was she from?
Bellingham.
What was her last name?
Bellisman.
And was she able to play on that team even though she lived in Bellingham?
Yes.
So this was still a King Philip pride?
Yes.
And was that a team that would actually travel to not only different cities and towns, but to Canada?
Yes.
And did you ever notice Michelle and Alice, what their relationship was when you were with them?
Yes.
What was it?
Judge.
Judge, the relationship with Alice is critical to the Commonwealth's case. Part of the motivation, we would argue that Michelle Carter did what she did to get the attention of a particular girl. Michelle Carter, we would argue, was doing things, in this case, with Conrad Roy, to get the attention of people that were told not to talk to her any longer. One of them being Alice.
Question, counsel, sidebar.
Yes.
Was she the same age or older or younger than you and Michelle?
I believe she was 1 year older than us.
Keep your voice up.
Well, I think she was 1 year older than us.
Okay. And when you were on the team in the middle school years, describe what you observed as far as the relationship between Michelle and Alice.
They were friends.
Did they get very close as the time went on the softball team? And what
You
did
have to speak, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
what did you observe? How did you determine that they were getting closer?
They spent more time together.
Were they together a lot?
At the field, yes.
And when the team would travel and go, for instance, to the trip to Canada, were they close?
Yes.
And would they room together?
I don't know.
Did they, when you observed them at softball events, were they always together?
Not always.
Were they together a majority of the time?
Yes.
And would you say that they were the closest together, closest teammates, their friendship? Michelle was closest to Alice.
Yes.
At some point, did that change that you were made aware of or saw yourself?
Yes.
And when was that, if you know? What year?
I believe it was sophomore year,
Okay.
freshman or sophomore. I don't
So
recall.
that would be 2013, 2014 timeframe?
I believe so.
And did they still hang around together?
When we had team things, yes, but everyone hung around together during that time.
You have to keep your voice up.
Sorry. Yes, but for team activities, we were all together a lot.
And were you, as a member of the team, made aware that they were no longer to have contact with one another?
Yes.
And who told you that?
Sustained.
You knew that?
Yes.
Okay. And did you observe that after finding out that they no longer, or they didn't spend as much time together?
I'm sorry, that question again?
After you learned that, did you observe that they were not together as much?
Is there an objection?
Yes.
Overruled. You may answer, ma'am.
Sorry, can you repeat it one more time?
After you learned that they were not to be in contact with one another, did you observe that they were no longer in contact with one another?
Yes.
And did Alice go to King Philip High School?
No.
Do you know what high school she went to?
I think Bellingham, the public high school. But I could be wrong, I don't remember.
Now, getting back to your high school years, is it fair to say that Ms. Carter spoke to you both verbally and through text messaging?
Yes.
How frequently would she text you?
Pretty frequently. We were friends, but not every day or anything like that.
And is it fair to say that when you were in your high school, your sophomore or junior year, that were you still friendly with her, like you would see her at places or go places with her?
Yes.
And would you consider yourself a close friend with her in high school?
We're close teammates, I would say.
So you were more teammates, not friends?
We were friends in the sense that I was there for her when she was going through things, and
Okay.
but not every day, like best
Would
friends
you
or
go
anything.
on weekends? Would you hang out with her?
No, not really.
At school, would you hang out with her?
I would see her at school,
You
and
would see her, but would you hang out with her?
there wasn't really much hanging out at school
Okay.
for me.
Would you call her up to go to her house at all?
Not much.
And so you would primarily see her at softball events or in the school hallways?
Yes.
What are you studying now?
Mechanical engineering,
And where do you go to school?
UMass Amherst.
What year are you in?
I'm going to be a junior.
Now, when you were back at high school with Michelle, is it fair to say that she expressed to you that she felt like she had no friends?
Yes.
I'll allow it.
Yes.
And did she send text messages to you about that?
Yes.
I'm going to point your attention to a particular text. And this is on November 3rd of 2013, so this would be your junior year?
I think our sophomore year, if it's 2013.
November 2013.
Oh, then our junior year. Yeah. Sorry.
There's a text sent at 6:30, text number 655. It's going to appear on the screen. $6:30:04. Could you read that to us, please?
Mhm. No, stop, I'm not. Stop telling me how wonderful and beautiful I am and how I'm such a funny girl because beautiful girls get invited to parties and their friends call and want to hang out. They don't spend Friday nights alone and funny girls don't lock themselves in their room to cry.
Do you recall getting that text message from Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And now, on that same date, 6:33, I'm sorry, 6:37,
Oh, yes. Sorry.
could you read that for us, please?
Livy, I have like no friends.
And at 6:40,
No one hangs out with me.
and at 6:40, 15 seconds.
I'm alone all the time.
Do you recall getting those text messages from Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And did you try to comfort her?
Yes.
And would you actually, at that time, did you ever go to her house on weekends, or did you hang around with her outside of school?
Again, mostly if this was junior year, then not much.
Okay. And are you familiar with DECA?
Yes.
What does DECA stand for?
Oh, I don't know what it stands for. I should, but I don't. It's a business club.
Okay. Were you involved in DECA?
Yes.
Was Michelle Carter involved in DECA?
Yes.
And what types of things would people that were involved in DECA, what would you do?
It depended on your project. There's different types. There's philanthropy and community service.
Competition type team?
Yes.
And do you know, did Michelle have partners in that?
Yes.
Who were her partners?
Senior year is Sam Boardman and Lexi Eblin, I believe.
Do you know them?
Yes.
Did you talk to Michelle about boys, boyfriends, that type of thing?
Sometimes.
And in high school, did you know whether or not she had a boyfriend?
Yes.
And who did you believe her boyfriend to be?
Conrad Roy.
Did you ever meet Conrad Roy?
No.
Did you ever see Michelle Carter with Conrad Roy?
No.
Did she ever tell you that she would go and go to his house and visit with him?
I don't know.
Do you know where he lived?
I think in Mattapoisett.
Okay. Do you know during your junior and senior years, did Michelle Carter have a license?
No.
So she didn't drive.
No.
Do you know how, or did Michelle tell you how she met Conrad?
In Florida.
I'm going to direct your attention to July 13 of 2014. Do you recall getting some news from Michelle that day?
Yes.
Where were you when you learned something from Michelle?
In Boston.
And who were you with?
My boyfriend and his family.
And did you learn something by speaking with Michelle, or was this through text messages?
Both.
What did you receive first? What do you recall receiving first?
That Conrad was missing.
Okay. And did she tell you that by phone or by text?
I believe by text.
And did she tell you anything else about his condition?
I don't remember.
I'm going to direct your attention to a particular text. On 7/13/2014 at 7:01:32 p.m. I'm going to ask if you could read that text for us, please.
He's dead. He's committed suicide.
Now, do you recall getting that text?
Yes.
Do
Sorry.
you recall if you were still in Boston at the time?
Does it have a time on it?
7:30 p.m.
No, I wasn't.
I'm sorry, 7:03 p.m.
No,
Okay.
I wasn't.
And after receiving that text, what did you reply back to Michelle? What did you tell her?
That I was sorry.
Okay. And did you tell her anything else?
I don't believe so.
What did you do after you heard that?
I went to see her.
And was that something that you would normally do?
It's something I would normally do for a friend that was having a difficult
No, I'm asking
time.
you, would you normally do that for Michelle Carter?
I
Go to
wouldn't.
her house?
No, not usually.
And why on this particular day did you decide to go to her house?
Because I would probably want someone to be with me if that happened.
So you felt bad for her?
Yes.
And you felt that she needed your comfort?
Yes.
Who did you go there with?
My boyfriend Brandon and my friend Jamie.
Okay. And had you and your boyfriend and your friend ever gone to Michelle Carter's house before?
Not all together. No.
Prior to that July 13th, 2014, when was the last time you had been at Michelle Carter's house?
I don't know.
Years before?
Probably not years, but
Months?
maybe, yeah.
How many times in total do you think you've ever been to Michelle Carter's house?
To hang out or for softball reasons?
To hang out with her?
Probably 5 or 6, I'd say. 7.
Did you observe others to go to her house that day or other days?
Not that day. I'm not sure if people went the following days to see
Okay.
her.
Did you observe people comforting her in the days that followed?
Yes.
And was that more than normal?
Yes.
How was she reacting to that?
She responded with thanks and thank you. She seemed to appreciate that people were.
So she was appreciative.
Sorry.
Dropping down.
I'll work on it.
She was appreciative?
Yes.
And at some point, did you learn about something called Homers for Conrad?
Yes.
How did you come to learn about that?
It was on Facebook and she told me about it.
And when you say it was on Facebook, was it on someone's Facebook page?
I think it was a Facebook page,
Okay.
if I remember, but I'm not sure.
And how did you get directed towards that Homers for Conrad Facebook page?
She told me about it.
Okay. And did you then actually attend that event?
Yes.
And this was on September 13th?
I don't know.
Okay. Who did
It
you go
sounds
with?
right. My volleyball team, I believe, had a team.
And was that another thing that was kind of organized by teams, that the teams felt it was good to go to support her?
Yes.
And was there any other team that did that besides the volleyball team?
Yes. I don't remember which ones. I know a lot of the fall sports teams decided it would be good to go.
So it's fair to say that there was people that determined that teams should go and support Michelle by going to this event?
Yes.
And your volleyball team went?
Yes.
How many people on your volleyball team?
12 total, but not everybody went. It was
How many people in total do you think were actually at the event?
I'm not sure. Probably over 50.
Okay. And did you see Michelle that day?
Yes.
How was her demeanor? How was she acting?
I didn't really interact with her much because.
Okay.
Yeah,
Could
it
you
was
see her
fine.
with your eyes?
Yes.
How was she acting?
I'm not really sure.
Did
And
she
How-
seem sad or happy or?
probably a little bit of both.
Okay. Did you know any of Conrad's family?
No.
Do you still keep in touch with Michelle Carter?
No.
One moment, please, Ron.
Yes.
When you were mentioning that you knew that Michelle had gotten sick at one point when she was younger and then when she was older. Did you learn that in June 20th, June 22nd time frame of 2014 that she was at McLean's Hospital?
Yes.
And did she text you while she was there?
I don't know if it was while she was there. I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did she tell you that she had been talking to her therapist about Alice?
Sustained.
Judge, I thought it was
Well,
permission
this
to
is a
leave.
statement by Ms. Carter.
Yes.
I'll allow it, I'm sorry. You may answer that.
Okay. Yes.
And she texted you that she was talking to her therapist about Alice?
Yes.
And she also texted you that she was obsessed by Alice.
What? Did you say obsessed?
Obsessed
By or?
with Alice.
Sustained. Sustained. You don't have to answer that.
Did she also tell you at that time, again, in June 20th, June 22nd, that she was starting to date Conrad again?
I believe so. Yes.
One moment, please, Your Honor.
Yes, of course.
Did she tell you more about what happened with Conrad when she was on the phone with him on July 12th, during days and the months following his death?
Wait, can you repeat the question?
Did she tell you more about what was happening the day that Conrad died? Did she ever tell you her involvement?
Like how she was feeling, or what happened that day?
That she was on the phone with him?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to July 20th, 2014, a text that was sent at 11:59:21 p.m. Ask if you could read that and call receiving that text.
The 20th, that one? The highlighted one? Okay. He told me he was going to do it soon and stuff. I just never believed him because every night when he said he was going to do it, he didn't. So that night when he actually did it, I couldn't believe it. I was talking to him on the phone when he killed himself, Lib. I heard him die. I just wish I got him more help. I wish I could have called someone to stop him that night. He would have probably did it a different night, but at least I would have got more time with him. At the end of the day, I just really miss him. He was who I talked to until 3 a.m., and now he's just gone. But his mom called me today. She found a suicide letter he wrote to me. He didn't write one to anyone else. His mom said I was the most important person in his life, so to know that just means so much to me.
Do you recall getting that from Michelle Carter?
Yes.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Madeira, do you wish to inquire, sir?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Morning. So you know Miss Carter since, I believe you testified, since middle school, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you were good friends with her throughout a large majority of high school, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And as you stated on your direct testimony, you went to her house multiple times to hang out, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And is it true that you had actually attended her 16th birthday party?
I don't know, actually.
You don't remember if you did?
I don't remember, no.
But back in the school year of 2013-2014, you continued to maintain a pretty good friendship with Michelle Carter. Isn't that correct?
That junior year?
Yes.
Yes, to some extent.
And that continued through the summer of 2014 at least. Isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
And you continued, fair to say that you and Ms. Carter texted throughout that time period many times, fair to say?
Yes.
Maybe hundreds of times, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And during some of those text message exchanges between you and Ms. Carter, you two would share your affection for one another as friends, isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
And sometimes you would say, I love you, Michelle, isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
And that continued into the summer of 2014, isn't that true?
Yes.
And for example, I will direct your attention to June 20th, 2014. Do you recall at 10:48 p.m., do you recall getting a text message from Ms. Carter stating, well, thanks, but I really appreciate everything you do for me, and I don't tell you that enough, but I need to. You were really special to me, and your response was, I love you.
Yes.
Now, you testified earlier about directing your attention to July 13, 2014. the Assistant District Attorney asked you to recall a text message, I believe, at 7:01 p.m., in which Ms. Carter stated that Conrad Roy had committed suicide at that point.
Yes.
And you were in Boston at this time during the text message exchange?
No.
Okay. But you were text messaging her back and forth about this?
At what time? At 7?
At 7:01 p.m., July 13th.
Yes.
And before that, in the hours before that, you were text messaging back and forth between Ms. Carter. Isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
And you were talking to her on the phone, too? Isn't that fair to say?
Once, yes.
Once. And before the 7:01 p.m. text about that he committed suicide, did Ms. Carter ask you to enter a phone number into an iPhone app in order to locate Mr. Roy?
Yes.
And you attempted to do that, did you not?
I attempted to, yes.
And again, this was before you became aware of Conrad Roy's death at that time, is that
Yes.
correct? And there were times in 2014 where Ms. Carter confided you about some of the problems that she was going through at that time. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
She would talk to you about her eating disorder, in fact.
Yes.
She, and prior to Mr. Roy's death, she also confided you about their relationship between she and Mr. Roy. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And I believe you testified just earlier about how she told you, I believe on June 21st, 2014, how she and Conrad might date again.
Yes.
And that was a text message that Ms. Carter sent to you. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall responding to her, quote, "I wouldn't, Michelle, I'm sorry, but..."
Objection.
This is a text message back from you to Mr. Madeira. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you may.
Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, we have that conversation back in.
All right, that's by stipulation, is that correct?
That's their entire conversation. That's
All right.
conversation.
Yes.
So you are excused at this time. Don't know if it may be necessary to bring you back, but we will sort that out as time goes on. Thank you for your assistance today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You are free to leave for today, however. Further witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Lexi Evelyn, please.
Okay. Good morning.
Hi. Please raise your right hand. This matter before the court, swear testimony about the court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you. Do.
All right. Please take a seat, make yourself comfortable. It's very important that you keep your voice up nice and loud. And when you are settled and comfortable and directing your comments into that flat mic in front of you, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Alexandra Eblin, E-B-L-A-N.
E.B.
L-A-N.
Thank you very much. All right, you may proceed, Ms. Friedman.
Thank you. You gave your full name. What do most people call you?
Lexi.
Lexi, how old are you?
I'm 20.
What's your date of birth?
January 22nd, 97.
Where were you born? What town or city did you grow up in, I mean?
I grew up in Norfolk, Massachusetts.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have an older brother,
And what's his name?
Jimmy.
And what does your father do for work?
He's a Boston police officer.
And what does your mom do?
She used to be a hairdresser. Now she works at a dentist office.
And what high school did you go to?
King Philip Regional High School.
How many years did you go to that high school for?
4.
Did you play any sports in school, in high school?
I did track, I think, freshman and sophomore year. I think that was all I did for sports.
And how big would you say your graduating class was? Either sort of when you first came in or at the time of graduation. Can you give the court a ballpark of how big your class was?
I think it was a little under 200 students. It got smaller, I'd say, as the grades, as we got into a higher grade.
So maybe more than 200 when you started, closer to 200 when you finished. Would that sound about right?
Yep.
Now, during the first couple of years of high school, can you tell us who your close friends would have been?
Samantha Boardman, Grace Pomfred, Nikki Lyons.
So I'm going to ask you some questions about Samantha Boardman. When did you guys first meet?
I've known her since like preschool.
Okay, long time.
Yeah,
And over the years, have you guys maintained a friendship?
I would say so, yeah.
And during high school, how would you describe your friendship with Sam?
We were best friends.
And what types of things would you and Sam do together in high school?
We did everything together. We hung out all the time.
And as the years went on and high school went on, did you come to know a Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And could you tell us what year you think you were in high school when you met Michelle Carter?
I believe it was freshman or sophomore year.
And do you remember how you met her?
I think it was, she was in one of my classes. I think it was biology.
And during the first couple of years of high school, sort of leading up to junior year or 2014, please describe your relationship with Michelle Carter, if you had any.
It was mostly an in-school friendship, mostly just like talking in school and stuff. That was kind of like the extent.
And during those first couple of years of high school, would you ever socialize with Michelle Carter outside of high school, outside of seeing her in a classroom?
I don't believe I did.
Now, drawing your attention to junior year of high school, your junior year, was Michelle Carter the same year graduating class you were?
Yes.
And how about Sam Boardman? Was she the same year graduating class?
Yes.
And how about Olivia? Was she the same year graduating class?
Yes.
So you guys were all in the same class?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in junior year, I know I asked you about sports, but did you do any other activities?
I was in DECA.
Could you please tell us what DECA is?
DECA is, it was a business program that we got to take as a class, where you made a project and you competed in a few different levels of competition.
And was this, is DECA kind of a big deal at your high school? Do a lot of people participate?
Yes, a lot of people do participate.
In the competitions you're in, how far can that take you?
There's districts, which is just like a district conference with a few towns, and then you can move on to states, which is like the whole state, and then you can progress to internationals, which is international competition.
And have you traveled to another part of the country as part of DECA?
Yes.
And where have you gone?
Florida.
So your junior year of high school, how do you get involved? How did you yourself get involved with DECA?
I think they had like an orientation thing to get kids involved in it, and it was a big deal, so like a lot of people wanted to do it. So I got into it kind of through that.
And are there different categories in DECA?
Yes.
And what are the categories? You don't have to name all of them, but just give us an idea.
There's like a bunch. Some of them can be like a marketing type of thing, or like a different branding, something from a company, different types of categories like that.
And what do you have to do? Do you have to come up with an idea, like something to sell?
Yeah, that could be a category. My category, my junior year, was I had to take a business and move it to another location, like open up another location.
And junior year, did you have a partner?
No, I worked alone.
Can you be partners with people?
Yes.
And how big can your groups be, if you know?
I think 2 to 3 people.
So junior year, you were working on your own project?
Yes.
Do you know if Samantha Boardman was involved, being her best friend then? Was she involved with DECA junior year?
Yes.
And could you tell us whether or not Michelle Carter, the defendant, was involved with DECA junior year?
She was.
And I'm not going to go into anything anybody else told you, but just anything Michelle might have told you or your own observations with your own eyes. What kind of project was she working on, based on what you could see?
She was in the same category as I was, and I think her project was something about moving the YMCA down to the Cape.
And in doing both having projects, and was she working alone or with a partner?
She was working alone.
And would you see her at DECA things?
Yes.
And what types of things would you go to?
Well, she was in my class, I believe, and then she was also at the competitions, some of them.
And when you say there were classes, did you have to do things after school?
You could, but we had time to work in class during school, so most kids would do it then.
And did you have a member of the faculty that supervised you, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we had a teacher.
So now that you and Sam and the defendant are all working on your projects in DECA, did your relationship with Michelle Carter change that junior year now that you're all sort of doing the same activity?
I would say kind of, because we were all involved in the same class.
And at some point in 2013, so this would be, so you graduated in 2015, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So 2015 academic year would be September, 2014 to May of 2015. So junior year would be September 2013 to May 2014, right?
Yes.
Okay, so junior year beginning in the fall, around that time, do you recall whether or not you had a texting relationship with Michelle Carter? Meaning, did the two of you text back and forth a lot?
Yes.
Do you remember how that started?
I don't.
And in that time frame of starting with October 2013 and now moving through the year, academic year I'm talking about, into when you would have finished junior year, how often would you say you and Michelle Carter texted?
Probably a few times a week, I would say.
And would you agree with me that between, say, October 2013 and October 2014, the two of you texted, would have texted thousands of times?
Yes.
In fact, have you reviewed some of those hundreds to thousands of text messages?
Yes.
And in addition to these hundreds to thousands of text messages, now I'm going to really just limit you to junior year right now, 2013 to 2014. Other than texting, would you guys ever hang out and just like go out on a Friday night?
Not usually. I can't remember a time that we did.
What did you have going on in your life junior year? Other than DECA, what else did you what were you doing with yourself? Going to school, DECA, what else did you have going on?
I believe I worked.
And what types of things do you do for work?
I worked at a dry cleaners and I did babysitting.
And was how often did you work at the dry cleaners, do you think?
I think 2 or 3 times a week.
And how often would you babysit? I know that can be somewhat sporadic. But
Yeah, it was pretty sporadic. Probably the same 2 or 3 times a week.
So you had school full-time, DECA, working at dry cleaners, and babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
And based on your observations, was your friend Sam someone who also was very busy and held jobs?
Definitely.
And what types of jobs did you see Sam at?
She worked at a bakery, I believe. Where else? I can't remember where else she worked, but I think she worked at a couple of different places.
Now, again, focusing on junior year, I asked you if you and Michelle ever socialized outside of school, like on a Friday, Saturday night. Your answer was no, correct?
Yes.
During that junior year, did you ever go over her house?
I think I may have once. I can't remember.
Did Michelle Carter ask you to do things during that junior year?
Definitely.
Can you tell the court, give the court the idea of how often Ms. Carter would either ask you in person or via text message for you and Sam to do things with her outside of school?
Probably a few times a week.
So during that junior year, a few times a week, the defendant would ask you and Sam to do things with her?
Yes.
And what was your usual answer?
That I was working or had something else to do, or no.
And during the same time frame, now I'm going to sort of fast forward a little bit, same thing junior year, okay? But I'm going to move towards the spring of 2014, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did that continue on where Ms. Carter was still asking you and Sam 2 to 3 times a week to hang out, and you guys weren't hanging out with her?
Yes.
Did there come a time during that spring, March, April of 2014, where Ms. Carter began to text you about something you found to be concerning?
Yes.
And what type of things was she texting you that you found to be concerning?
Like personal problems.
And was there ever, during this time frame again, when she was asking to hang out and you guys weren't, that she talked about the term cutting?
I believe so, yes.
And at your age, being in high school, did the term cutting mean something to you? What did you think that meant?
Like cutting your wrists or your body to self-harm.
Now, when we're seeing Ms. Carter in school after the couple of times she said she was cutting, did you ever actually see any wounds on her?
No.
Did she ever ask you if you wanted to see wounds, or did you notice any wounds?
I don't believe so.
did you become aware whether or not Ms. Carter had suffered from an eating disorder?
I was aware.
Do you recall how you initially became aware?
I probably from people at school, just like heard it around.
Now, after that, sort of putting out of your mind what anyone else may have told you and just really focusing on what you saw and what Ms. Carter may have told you, did Ms. Carter speak to you about food issues?
Not usually.
Now, the summer of 2014, so school's over. Does DECA continue on through the summer, or does that end when school year ends?
That ends when school year ends. A little before the school year ends.
What was your relationship like with the defendant when junior year is ending?
I would say mostly just texting. I never really hung out too much.
And at that, as school is ending, were there any talks between you and Michelle, or you, Michelle, and Sam about doing things over the summer?
I believe Michelle asked us, but I'm not sure if we had any plans.
In your mind, did you have any plans to hang out with her over the summer?
Not really.
What were you going to be doing this summer? How were you planning on spending your summer of 2014?
Working and just hanging out. I went on vacation.
And where were you going on vacation?
To Aruba.
And was that vacation in sort of the middle of July?
Yes.
And who did you go with?
I went with my dad and my brother.
And was that pre-planned before July?
Yes.
So, we're moving forward. When does the school year end? The end of June? Or
Yeah, like middle, end of June.
And where were you going to be working that summer?
At the dry cleaners and babysitting.
And I don't want to get too much into your personal business. Babysitting locally?
Yep, a couple towns over.
Now, as the summer continued now, June into the beginning of July, were you still in contact via text message with Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Had you ever heard the name Conrad Roy before July?
Yes.
And how had you heard it, or who had you heard it from?
I heard it from her. She used to talk about him.
And what would she say about him prior to July of 2014?
That he was her boyfriend.
Had you ever seen him?
No.
Did she ever tell you how they met?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
That they met through their grandparents down in Florida.
Now, your testimony was you believe you met her maybe freshman year of high school?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when you first, and I know this is a while ago now, but can you give the court an idea of when you first think she mentioned Conrad to you? Before DECA or during DECA?
Before DECA.
Did you ever talk to Conrad Roy in person or by any, and when I say talk, I'm using that very generally, text, Facebook, instant message, any means?
I don't believe I did.
Did she ever give you an idea of how often her and Conrad were actually seeing each other?
Yeah, they didn't see each other very often.
Now, as using July 4th as sort of a time frame, do you remember around that time receiving some text messages from Michelle Carter about whether or not you and Sam could sleep over in July?
Yes.
And what was your initial response to Michelle when she asked you about sleeping over?
I don't recall. I don't think I really wanted to, but I ended up sleeping over.
And who else was going to be sleeping over with you?
Sam.
And who made the initial plans to sleep over at the defendant's house, you or Sam?
I think Sam did.
At that time, were you and Sam still best friends and spending a lot of time together?
Yes.
So tell us about how you ended up sleeping over her house. Walk us through that particular evening as best you can remember.
I think Sam and Michelle made the plans, and then Sam told me, and we went over there. And I don't remember much, but I remember we went over to the neighbor's house and hung out with them for a little while before coming back over.
Do you remember whose neighbor's house it was?
Madison Hopkins.
And who is Madison?
Michelle's neighbor.
Did she go to King Phillips?
Oh, yeah, she was in our grade.
She also in your grade?
Yes.
Do you remember, so it's you, Sam, Michelle, Madison, anybody else there?
I think Renee Poirier might have been there.
So I'm going to ask you some questions about Renee. Was she also in your class?
Yes.
Okay. And just based again on what anyone told you, your own observations, was she very talented at a particular sport?
Yes.
What was that?
Softball.
And do you know where she goes to school now and plays softball?
West Point.
So back in high school, did you observe her to be someone who was very busy with softball?
Yeah, she was very involved.
Are you aware, based on your own observations, if she was consistently going out of state to play softball games?
I'm not sure.
So you go to over Madison's house, Renee, who's plays softball, you, Sam, Michelle are all over there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
At some point you go someplace else. Where do you go?
I think we went to Chipotle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at some point did you go someplace else after Chipotle?
I don't remember.
And at some point did you find yourself at Michelle's house?
Yes.
Had you ever slept over there before?
No.
What was Michelle's demeanor? How did she seem that night?
She seemed the same.
When do you think you had last seen her, other than going to Madison's house? When had you last seen her?
Probably the end of school.
Do you remember whether or not she had a phone with her that night?
I don't remember.
And this would be sometime after July 4th, but before July 12th or July 13th. Does that ring a bell? Sometime in that time frame?
Yes.
So you guys slept over, right?
Yes.
And the next day, what happened, if anything?
I think we just went home in the morning.
Did you have a cell phone back then?
Yes.
And do you remember what kind of cell phone you had?
I believe it was an iPhone 4S.
And was that the cell phone you communicated with Michelle Carter on?
Yes.
So now you've finished the sleepover, and now drawing your attention to July 10th, 2014. Do you recall whether you began texting with Michelle Carter on the 10th?
I don't recall.
Do you mind? It's actually, if I made one while we were on.
Okay.
Do you see that one on July 10th, 2014 at 5:23 p.m.?
Yes.
Can you read that for us?
Thank you so much for coming over and hanging out with me, Lexi. It really made me happy. You and Sam are the only people who actually make me forget I have an issue and stuff for a while. And like you guys, make me feel normal. I can't thank you enough for that. I hope you want to hang again sometime soon. I had a good time, and I hope you did too.
And did you respond to that?
I don't believe I did.
Then now, that same day of July 10th, 2014 at 5:48, do you remember getting a text message about Conrad?
Vaguely, yes.
Can you read this one for me, please?
Conrad's missing. They can't find him anywhere.
Do you recall, if you may not recall the exact verbiage of that text message, but do you remember getting a message about Conrad being missing?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you feel when you got that?
I didn't really know what to think about it.
Sustained. The answer is stricken.
Well, now, if you could skip to the next one, please, July 11th. Did you send her a text message?
Yes.
What did you ask her?
Did they find him?
And did she respond a few minutes later?
Yes.
What did she say?
Thank you for asking, but no, not yet. I'm losing all hope that he's even still alive.
And just for the record, this is July 11th, correct?
Yes.
Please read the next one at 10:59 p.m. Oh, strike that. Do you then just ask seriously, question mark, question mark?
Yes.
And how does she respond, please?
She says, yes, he's been missing since Wednesday night when you guys slept over. He hasn't called or talked to me or anyone since. I just don't understand. He didn't even tell me, like we were supposed to hang out today, and he knew that.
Had Ms. Carter mentioned to you during the sleepover at any other time when the last time she had physically seen Conrad Roy?
I believe it was a while before.
But in this particular text message, she's telling you they were supposed to hang out?
Yes.
Can we skip forward to July 12, 2014 at 9:24 p.m.? So I'm now going to draw your attention to the next day. For the record, July 12, 2014, 9:24 p.m. Did you get a text from Michelle Carter?
Yes.
Could you please read it?
He called me and I heard like muffled sounds and some type of motor running, and it was like that for 20 minutes and he wouldn't answer. I think he killed himself.
Where were you when you got that text message, Alexi, if you remember?
I believe I was at either my dad's house or my mom's.
Now, you mentioned that your father is a police officer, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what an Amber Alert is, either from your dad or just being on this earth?
Yes.
Could you please go down to the next one? Just 1 second. Strike that. Did you at some point you recall asking her if there was an Amber Alert?
Yes.
Now, July 13, 2014, 10:36 a.m., please, the following morning. Can you read that, please?
I'm going to help look for him. His mom just called me panicking.
Did you know at that point, based on your observations and or conversations with Michelle Carter, whether or not she had a license to drive?
I don't believe she had a license.
At that point now, after the 13th, and if you could just read one more, please. Do you recall getting a text message at 7:04 p.m. from her?
Yes.
What does that say?
He's dead. He committed suicide.
Now, after that, on July 13, 2014, did you go someplace for a period of time?
I did.
And where'd you go?
I went to Aruba.
So, if you're looking at the text message, there appears to be a break in communication. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you recall back then in 2014 whether or not you could use your iPhone in Aruba?
I didn't have data international, so I couldn't use text or anything.
Now, when you returned, do you recall hearing from Ms. Carter again?
Yes.
You could go now to July 21st, 2014, 6:41 p.m. Could you read that one for me, please?
I'm going to Conrad's tomorrow to go through some of his things with his mom and to get a suicide letter that he wrote to me. I know Sam wants to see it and stuff, so maybe we can do something Thursday if you're free, or Friday.
Do you recall getting that?
Yes.
And after Ms. Carter asked you to accompany her to pick up a suicide note, did you do that?
I did not.
Why not?
I didn't want to.
And if you could go down, please, to 7/21/2014, 7:11 p.m. Could you read that for me, please, from Ms. Carter?
Okay, awesome. And yeah, he did, and only one for me. His mom found it.
And did you respond to that at 7:30?
Yes.
What'd you say?
I said, that's amazing.
And did she respond back to you at 7:33?
Yes.
Could you read that for me, please?
Yeah, it just means so much to me to know that I was that special to him. His mom said I was the most important person in his life. If you want to read it when I get it, you can. You and Sam are the only people I want to read it.
Did you want to read the suicide note?
I don't think I really cared too much.
Now, after did you ever take a trip with Ms. Carter to Conrad Roy's house or any member of his family's house?
No.
And after that sleepover, prior to July 12, 2014, do you remember the next time you saw Michelle Carter?
I don't recall.
During the time frame of the summer of 2014, other than the outing of going to pick up a suicide note, did Ms. Carter ask you if you wanted to hang out any other times?
I believe she did.
And did you hang out with her?
I hung out with her once after, I believe it was sometime in August. She came out with me and my boyfriend.
Other than that, in August of your best memory, other than August of 2014, did you see it or any other times during?
No.
Was there still texting communication between you and the defendant?
Yes.
Now, let's talk about senior year. Okay, so this would be academic year 2014 to 2015. Do you recall what your relationship like was with the defendant when the school year started back up?
It was mostly in school, other than the fact that we were DECA partners, so we had to get together outside of school.
Now, when school started, you being in school with the defendant, did you have an opportunity to make observations of how she seemed?
Yes.
What was her demeanor? How was she?
She seemed the same.
The same as when?
Like normal, like before the previous year.
So senior year demeanor a lot like junior year?
Yeah.
And after school year started, obviously you'd received a text message. Did she talk about Conrad at all?
I think so.
Did she talk about any other individuals with you? Just yes or no?
No.
Do you know the name Alie Ethier?
Yes.
And how do you know who she is?
Her mom used to come into the dry cleaner that I worked at, and I just know who she was because she was from a couple towns over.
And do you recall whether or not she's approximately the same age as you, or do you think she was older or younger?
The same age.
Do you remember hearing the name Alie Ethier from somebody?
Yes.
In the summer of 2014?
Yes.
And who did you hear it from?
Michelle.
I'll allow that, okay.
And actually, Your Honor, if we could approach before I ask my next question then too. Thank you.
I think one of the first weeks of school.
And when Sam suggested that the defendant be included in your group, what was your...
It's the same as to what Sam suggested.
Did you become partners with the defendant and Sam?
Yes.
And in being partners with the defendant and Sam, what types of things would you guys do together in furtherance of your project?
We would go to Michelle's house normally and work on the manual or the poster board.
And other than DECA-related activities, how often would you say you socialize with the defendant outside of DECA stuff?
Not usually.
At this point, senior year, would she still have been asking you and Sam, and not asking what Sam told you, what you know yourself via text message or in person with Michelle or over the phone, was Michelle still asking you guys to hang out?
Yes.
And were you hanging out with her?
No.
Now, drawing your attention back a little bit before the school year started in August of 2014, August 2014, 8:48 p.m.
August 14th, did you say?
August 24th, 2014, 8:48 p.m. Do you recall around that time getting a text message about Conrad?
Yes.
Could you please read that text message for us?
Thank you. So I've just been having really emotional and difficult nights. The nighttime is when all the thoughts of Conrad come. Like, I think about him in the day too, but nighttime was like our time where we would stay up until 2 a.m. talking. And I just feel so alone without him, and I text him, but he never replies. And I have all these flashback thoughts of when I was talking to him on the phone when he killed himself, and I just think about hearing his cries, and I just panic and have like panic attacks from it. Every time I see a car alone in a parking lot, I get freaked out and anxious because I feel like they're using carbon monoxide to do the same thing, and I can't be left alone in a car or I'll lose control.
Do you recall getting the text message that she's talking about hearing Conrad's cries? Do you recall getting that text message?
Yes.
Do you remember hearing about something called Homers for Conrad?
Yes.
How did you hear about it?
Through Michelle.
Do you recall if you heard about it in person via text message or both?
I think it was text and Facebook.
Eight 27, 2014, 12:27 p.m. Do you recall getting this text message? Could you please read it for us?
Hey, I put the homers for Conrad on Facebook. I'm like famous now. Haha, check it out.
Did you check it out?
Yes.
And what did you see?
I believe it was a Facebook page for the event.
And did you go to the event?
I did not.
How come?
I was working.
As senior year continued on, so with DECA, did you sort of start with the idea and work your way forward?
Yes.
Okay, and with regard to your particular group, what was your project going to be?
Our project was called Connect to Cure. We were we were making bracelets, and every one that was bought, we donated one to a child at the Boston Children's Hospital.
And when would you say you guys were at the busiest? Does it go through the whole academic year?
Yeah, it does.
Is there a particular time when sort of everything's due or that's busier than others, kind of like finals, things get busier towards the end?
We have deadlines throughout, and your project only continues if you make it past the different levels of competition. So if you don't make it past the first one, then your project, you don't work on it anymore. But I would say in the beginning we were busy because we had to make a lot of bracelets, but throughout we were kind of busy with the whole project.
Now, did there come a time in October of 2014 that you became aware, was there a time in around October 2014 that you became aware from the defendant, not by any other means, that she no longer had her phone that she was normally texting you from?
Yes.
And how did you find that out?
From her at school.
And what did she tell you about what had happened to her phone?
Objection. This is Ms. Carter making this statement?
Yes.
Objection, counsel.
As to the reason why, Your Honor, the phone was
well, it's not taken for the truth. If that was the reason it was taken, it's taken for what the statement of Ms. Carter was. Limited to that, you may have the question.
What did she tell you about why she no longer had her phone that she had been previously texting you from?
She said that I think it was a police officer came up to her outside of the school at an after-school volleyball game and took it from her.
What was her tone of voice when she told you this?
I don't recall.
Now, as senior year moves forward, DECA moves forward, and you're seeing Michelle at DECA, did you ever socialize with her outside of school or DECA during that senior year that you remember?
Not that I remember.
During senior year, do you have an estimate, if any, how often she would ask you and Sam to hang out with her? Again, just stuff she said directly to you, not anything you heard from Sam.
Once or twice a week.
During your senior year, were you working at all, as well as doing DECA in school?
Yes.
And what were you doing for work then?
Still working at the dry cleaners and babysitting.
Based on your own observations at school, who else would you see, other than Hank when Michelle was with you and Sam, who else would you see her socialize with in school?
She kind of socialized with a lot of different people. Evan, a lot of kids in DECA, I would say.
Would you ever, when you and Sam were out and about, hanging out on Friday, Saturday night, and going to various things, would you ever see the defendant out and about with other groups of friends?
No.
During the times that you observed the defendant, which would be a lot, in junior and senior year, were there ever times where you noticed a substantial change in her demeanor?
Not that I can recall.
During senior year, where you guys are working on DECA together, how many days a week would you think you saw her?
Every day in school. Outside of school, maybe once a week, if we worked on it every week. I don't work.
Now, how about junior year? You guys were both in DECA but had different projects. How often a week would you say you observed the defendant during junior year?
Probably the same in school, not outside.
And you never noticed any substantial changes in her demeanor or?
No.
Have one moment, please, Your Honor.
May?
Thank you. I see one in your honor. Just gonna water, Your Honor. Other than that, I have no more questions.
All right, thank you. We're going to take the morning recess. You are not yet released, and we will resume at 11:05. Thank you very much. All rise. Here.
Morning.
Morning.
So back in the school year of 2013-2014, I believe junior year of high school.
Yes.
Fair to say you were good friends with Michelle Carter at that time.
Yes.
And in fact, when she turned 18 that year, 2014, isn't it true that you and your other friend took her on a train to Boston for her 18th birthday?
Yes.
Fair to say? And you used to hang out regularly towards the end of that year. Isn't that fair to say?
I can't recall.
You don't recall?
No.
Do you recall it being interviewed by Detective Gordon at the Fairhaven Police Department?
Yes.
And do you recall, isn't it true that you told him that you hang out regularly with Michelle Carter? You hung out regularly with Michelle Carter towards the end of the school year 2014?
I can't recall.
As you stated on your direct testimony, you also communicated regularly by way of texting between yourself and Michelle Carter.
Yes.
Right? Probably hundreds, if not thousands, of texts between the two of you.
Yes.
Back and forth.
Yes.
And during some of those text message communications, you and Ms. Carter would share your affection for one another as friends, would you not?
Yes.
You would say that, for example, I love you back and forth. Isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
In fact, just directing your attention, for example, to February 11th, 2014 at 10:06 p.m.
February 11th, yes, sir.
To February 11th, 2014.
2014, thank you.
Do you recall getting a text message from Michelle Carter, quote, and Lexi, I don't know why you always get screwed over, but you need to know that you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're smart, and you're worthy of the best things in the world. And I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but you need to know that. Just always be you, because that is enough for anyone who really cares and loves you for the real you. And you responded, thanks, Michelle, love you. Do you recall that text message exchange?
Yes.
And do you recall on March 17th, 2014 at 10:09 p.m., sending a text message to Ms. Carter stating, quote, you're so inspirational, and I know and I don't tell you enough, but I'm so glad to have you as a friend. I love you, Michelle.
Yes.
Do you recall sending that to Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And as you stated in response to questions from the Assistant District Attorney, there were times where Ms. Carter confided in you about some of the problems that she was going through?
Yes.
Up until 2014, that school year, isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
And she talked about her ongoing eating disorder?
Yes.
And her cutting, as you testified
yes.
earlier? She talked about potentially going to the hospital
yes.
to get treated for that? And she texted you about these problems in the months and weeks prior to the death of Conrad Roy, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, you've also testified about a number of text message exchanges Michelle Carter sent to you in July of 2014 surrounding the death of Conrad Roy, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall, and I believe during your direct testimony, you were answering some questions about text messages between yourself and Miss Carter on July 21st, 2014. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that was when you got back from Aruba, I believe?
Yep.
And do you recall a subsequent exchange between you and Miss Carter where you asked her, quote...
Can I get a date on that, please?
I apologize. At July 21st, 2014 at 7:35 p.m., do you recall texting to Miss Carter? He was texting you right before, right? What did he say? And Miss Carter's response was, yeah, he was, but when we talked on the phone, I was talking to him on the phone as he killed himself, like I heard him die. He told me he was going to do it, but I just didn't believe him. He told me exactly what his plan was, and we talked about it, and he told me he loved me, and then he just stopped talking, and I never heard from him again. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you received that from Michelle Carter at that time?
Yes.
Just a second, Ron.
Yes.
I have nothing further to say.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, please. So in that last text message that, I just need one moment to pull that last one up if I could, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
7/21/2014, 7:38. Would you agree with me as you look up on the screen? Let's see, July 21st, 2014, 7:38 p.m. That's the last text message that counsel asked you about?
Yes.
That you just read? Or maybe you read, I'm not sure. In that text message, so she says, yeah, he was, but after we talked on the phone, I was talking to him on the phone and he killed himself. I heard him die. He told me he was going to do it, but I just didn't believe him. He told me exactly his plan and we talked about it. And he told me he loved me. Right? That's what she made sure to tell you, that he said that he loved her before he killed himself, right?
Yes.
And that was not the only text message that she sent you about what she heard him do on the phone, is it?
No.
And wasn't there also when we went over that she heard him cry on the phone, correct?
Correct.
Now the text message defense counsel asked you about where you said, I love you in response. 1 minute, I'm just going to pull that one up as well. For the record, February 11, 2014, did she text you, and Lexi, I don't know why you always get screwed over, but you need to know that you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're smart, and you're worthy of the best things in the world. And I don't know if anyone's ever told you that before, but you need to know that. Just always be you, because that is enough for anyone who really cares and loves you for the real you. Did she send you that?
Yes.
And I have no doubt that you're all those things, ma'am, but was this something that the defendant routinely or often told you how wonderful, beautiful, and amazing you were?
Yes.
Did any other friends, other than maybe your best friend, send you text messages or tell you routinely how amazing and wonderful you were?
Not usually.
I can have one more, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any recross? You are free to go. Thank you for your assistance in this case.
Thank you.
All right. Does Commonwealth have a further witness?
I do, but somewhere in my stuff, Your Honor, I have that CD. Thank you.
All right.
Lexi Evelyn.
And that
text
is by
message.
agreement?
Yes.
Yes. Marked.
Read number 18, Your Honor.
18? Okay. Do we need to wait for Ms. Flynn, or are you taking?
Nope, I get the next one. Samantha Boardman, Your Honor.
All right.
Yes, please.
Good morning. Please remain standing for a moment while you are
Please raise your right
sworn.
hand. This matter before the court, swear testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Do I repeat that? Yes.
Thank
Do you understand the oath?
Yes.
All right. Please take a seat. And I want you to keep your voice up nice and loud so that everyone has the benefit of your testimony. And when you are settled and comfortable in directing your comments into that flat mic in front of you, you state your full name and spell your last name for the record. Go ahead.
Samantha Boardman. Samantha Boardman.
Thank you very much. You may proceed, Ms. Boardman.
Do people call you Sam?
Yes.
And how old are you, Sam?
I'm 20.
What's your date of birth?
November 25th, 1996.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Norfolk, Mass.
And do you know someone by the name of Lexi who just left before you did?
Yep.
How long have you known Lexi?
Since preschool.
And did you guys go to the same grammar school?
Yep.
And the same, do you guys have a junior high in your town?
Yes, yes, King Philip. Yep.
Do you go to the same school there?
Yep.
And how about the same high school?
Yep.
And in high school, how would you describe your friendship with Lexi?
Lexi was my best friend.
Now, in high school, so I'm going to sort of fast forward you a little bit, did you go to King Philip's High?
Yes.
And what year did you graduate?
2015.
Did you do any sports or activities in high school?
I was involved with the gymnastics team, but more importantly, I was involved in the DECA program, which was a business club.
In what years were you involved in gymnastics?
Junior and senior year.
Was that through the high school? Was that like a regional thing, or?
That was through the high school.
Now I'm going to draw your attention now to junior year. So the bulk of my next many questions are going to focus on your junior year, okay? Now in your junior year, did you meet someone by the name of Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And do you remember how you came to meet her?
She was in 2 of my classes, I believe. More so I talked to her in math class, I believe.
And the person you came to, you met her in math class?
Yes.
Now, upon meeting her, and just for the record, this would be in academic year 2013 to 2014. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And it's been a while since I went to high school. Was it the same math class from fall to spring, or did you meet her in the first part of the year or the second part of the year?
I think we started talking more second, the spring. She was in my class all year though, and she was also in my DECA class. I don't think we talked much in that class though, just from seating arrangements and whatnot.
Now, focusing. Did you have a cell phone back then?
Yes.
And did your cell phone have texting capability?
Yes.
Now, prior to knowing Michelle Carter, was texting something you did a lot, Sam?
Yes.
And would you use your phone to communicate via text message with your friends?
Yes.
Such as Lexi?
Yes.
Now, in the academic year 2013 to 2014, was there a time that came where you began to text message back and forth with the defendant, Michelle Carter?
Yes.
Do you remember how that began?
First, probably just, I think her kind of reaching out to me at first, sort of as a friend, I suppose. Yeah.
At that point, when she began to reach out to you, were the two of you spending any time together outside of math class?
No.
And when she began to reach out to you via text message, can you tell us sort of the beginning months of your friendship, March, April of 2014, so sort of the second half of the school year, what were your conversations predominantly about when you first started talking with her?
So predominantly it was probably about like food intake, or because I think she really reached out to me particularly, or I noticed, if she needed help with, any kind of eating disorder that she was going through. So I think it was basically just trying to reach out for help in that sense, or making sure she's doing.
Without going in through all of them, would it be fair to say that through March and April of 2014, the two of you text hundreds to thousands of time about what she's eating on a sort of day-to-day basis?
That sounds right, yeah.
Did there ever come times when she would come up to you during school or at lunch and go over with you what she had eaten for the day and to ask you if that was sufficient?
Not particularly. I would notice if she wasn't feeling right, and I'd try to make sure that if she wasn't, I kind of like to watch out for her just because I didn't want her to struggle alone. But we mostly talked about that over text, so it would all be there.
And did you attempt to, when she came to you with her food issues during the time frame of March and April, what did you do to try to assist her?
I didn't want to get too involved in it, like on day to day. I just tried to help her make sure she ate a breakfast because, I can see if people, get hangry or whatnot. But basically just making sure that she's, doing what she should be doing as far as just basically getting to eat.
And during the months of March and April 2014, would you regularly check in on her to see what she had eaten that particular day or that night?
Occasionally. Usually I'd know if I could tell if she didn't, I would just check in.
Now, in addition to seeing each other in math class and maybe seeing each other in the halls or at lunch, was texting the way that you and the defendant communicated?
Yes.
Were you ever seeing her outside of school in any sort of social way at all?
Not at that point, no.
Was Lexi your best friend around that point?
Yes.
Was there ever times, and again, just so you don't have to go through all of these, there a time when you and the defendant went over meal plans for her, suggestions of things that you thought might be healthy choices for her?
Yes. She would often ask me, if I could do that for her. Occasionally, yeah.
And did you in fact then give her the best advice you could think of as to different types of food options, maybe 2 eggs for breakfast versus 1 egg, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I tried to encourage flexibility. I gave her some ideas. I mean, obviously, I'm no dietitian, but I gave her ideas. I tried to encourage her independence with it, but I did want to encourage healthy behavior.
And was independence something you tried to encourage with her in general?
Yes.
Were you aware of whether or not she had her license at that time?
Yes, she did not.
And was that something that you spoke to her about as a friend?
Yes.
And what did you encourage her to do?
I told her that would be a great way to gain some independence and to take a step to do that.
Were there ever times during this time frame where she's talking to you about food that you suggested she go to her mother and talk to her?
Yes.
And did she respond to you about that suggestion?
I don't remember how she responded to that.
Relative to the advice or things you were telling her that maybe might be a good idea, were there ever times when you felt as though you were getting frustrated?
Yes.
And did you express that to her?
Yes.
April 14th, 2014 at 6:08.
I'm sorry, the date again?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to turn my back to you, Your Honor. April 14th, 2014 at 6:08 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Uh, 6:08 p.m. Could you please read that text message for us aloud?
Yes.
Is that from you?
Yes.
And please read it.
Sorry. I said, I wanted to help you, but you have your mind set on what you're going to do. Even when you say you're going to do it my way, you know in your head you aren't. You also know that you need to eat and that eating just fruit isn't right. I've tried and honestly I don't know what you want me to do anymore. There's no point in me telling you to do stuff or trying to help when you don't listen anyways.
Now, were there also times, strike that. In addition to going to school and doing DECA Sam during your junior year, were you working?
Yes.
And do you have a busy work schedule?
At this time, yes, very busy.
And back junior year, where were you working?
I was working mornings and afternoon at a bakery, and I would go to my night shifts at the Black Cow ice cream parlor.
And that would be during the summer, correct?
That was summer, yep.
During the school year, what were you doing for work?
School year, I was doing Black Cow until it closed for the season, and then Twist on the weekends and after school.
So you've given the names. Can you tell the judge what these places are?
Oh yeah, Twist Bakery is the cafe bakery place where I'd spend mornings and afternoon. Black Cow ice cream was something I usually did at night or sometimes day shifts as well.
Is the Black Cow a very busy ice cream place?
Yes, very busy.
So, were there times, Sam, where you would be texting and then be at work and didn't have your phone for a while?
Yes, I wasn't allowed to use my phone.
Are there times during the academic school year, during these thousands of text messages, where there were times when the defendant would text you and you would be late or take a while for you to text back?
Yes.
And would she sometimes, the defendant, react to that?
Yes.
And how would her reaction be if you took a long time to respond to her?
She would often repeatedly texted me until I responded. I was able to respond.
And what would you generally describe sometimes to be the length of the defendant's text messages to you?
Very lengthy.
April 23rd, 2014. April 23rd, 2014, 10:05 p.m.
Thank you.
This way for room. Sorry, just switch on. Can you read that through the pink? Because if not, I can get you another copy.
Yeah, I can read that.
You, non-witness, is this from you or to you?
This is to me.
From?
Michelle.
Are you able to read that, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, can you read it for us?
Sure. The whole thing?
If you could.
This is from Michelle.
I actually have a highlighted that might be easier for you to read.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I have... Ooh. Yeah, I have school friends that all say they love me, but that doesn't mean shit when no one ever asks to hang out with me. No one ever calls me or texts me. It's always me that has to do it. So when someone actually makes an effort to talk to me and hang out and stuff, it makes me so happy, and I actually feel important, like I'm worth something. That happened with you, like you made me feel important. Like when I look back on my high school career, I'm honored to say that I got the opportunity to be friends with Sam Boardman. You're someone that I look up to, and I'll be honest, I cried when you said you wanted to help me and hang out and stuff. It just meant so much to me. Like I finally found a friend. I'm sorry. I don't even remember the last time someone asked to hang out with me before you did. But I don't IDK what I was thinking. I knew I was just gonna make it all come crashing down. I always do. I feel like that's what's happening now, and it's always my fault. I can't believe anyone else. It lasts for a few weeks or months, and then that's it. I push people away. I text them too much or try talking to them too much, and they leave. Every single one, and then I'm left crying in bed at night because I have no one, no friends, barely a family, like they don't even like me half the time. and no plans for the future. I'm nothing, and I just have no idea what I'm doing. I don't have a best friend that wants to hang out with me when they're not doing anything. I mean, Alice was my best friend but I guarantee that was all my fault that we aren't now, too. And the worst part is she won't even talk to me now, and it just makes me feel like absolute shit. Courtney Murray has been my best friend since we were like 5, but now she barely talks to me. And now I don't know why people don't like me or want to hang out. Like, I don't get it. Is something wrong with me that I can't see? Like, I know people have lives like jobs and school and families and other things for the future they need to care about, but I don't get why or W.
Do you recall getting that text, not the exact verbiage because I know it's long, but do you remember getting something like that?
Yes.
And did you ever get texts from the defendant around that time of a similar type of nature?
Yes.
And how would you respond to her? Would you try to comfort her or reassure her?
Yes.
Now, as time went on, now March turns to June, strike turns to May, May turns to June. Did there come a time when there was at least you had some concern, you expressed some concern that maybe whatever guidance you might have been trying to give her about food might not be enough?
Yes.
And did you become aware that in June of 2014, the defendant went to McLean's Hospital?
Yes.
And did you find that out from the defendant directly at some point?
Yes.
And when she got out of McLean's Hospital, how did you find out, assuming you did?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether or not your texting relationship resumed at some point after she got out of McLean's?
Yes, I assume.
Was that a very busy summer for you?
Yes.
So the summer of 2014, you mentioned you were working a couple of jobs?
Yes.
Could you please tell the court what your schedule was like the summer of 2014? So June, July, August. Walk us through sort of a typical day or week.
So usually I did like some kind of opening shift at Twist Bakery that usually started around 6:30 or 6:37 or 8 o'clock. Usually I'd work till around 2 or 3, sometimes later. Very, very busy cafe. And then I'd worked at the Black, so that was probably at least 4 days a week, sometimes 5. And then the Black Cow was probably 4 or 5 days as well, where I'd go after work or after Twist and go to the Black Cow. Some days I'd work just at Twist, some days just at the Black Cow. But there certainly were days where I would do both, which was no time for talking for me.
So very busy summer for you.
Very busy.
Now, prior to school ending, we're sort of wrapping up your junior year here. Prior to your junior year ending, around that time, how often were you seeing the defendant in any sort of social manner, if at all?
This is junior year?
Junior year.
I only saw her in school.
For the summer of 2014, did you have any plans to spend time with her over the summer?
I believe I saw her once that summer.
Did she ask you to make plans?
Yes.
And was there ever a time when she asked you to go on a trip with her? Or to go someplace with her?
I don't remember particularly.
Did you know prior to the summer of 2014, had you ever heard the name Conrad Roy?
No.
Did you ever hear the defendant mention she had a boyfriend or a friend who lived far away?
I guess I heard of his name first very briefly, I think probably once, junior year in school. We did not talk about him. I'm sure you could see from our messages. I didn't know anything about him. I just knew she had a friend, so yes.
Did you ever meet someone by the name of Conrad Roy?
No.
Did you ever speak to someone identifying themselves to be Conrad Roy by any means, texting or any sort of form of social media?
No.
So now I'm going to draw your attention to July 9th into the 10th. Did there come to be a time when you slept over the defendant's house?
Yes.
Do you remember how those plans got made?
So that was at the end of the summer. So me and Lexi actually was asking us to hang at that point a lot. So, we decided, yeah, we should give it a shot or whatever, because we never really hung out before that. So me and Lexi both went and hung out.
And do you remember, is there anything about that particular sleepover in July that sticks out in your mind? Do you have any specific memory of it?
No.
How did Michelle seem, if you recall that particular night?
She seemed well.
And do you recall whether or not you noticed the defendant using her cell phone on the night of July 9th into the 10th when you slept over?
I don't remember.
Now, the next day, you woke up in her house, your parents' house, correct?
Yep.
And what did you do? Do you remember anything specific about that day?
No. I could have been working, probably.
Yes, of course.
Do you recall if she texted you the next day to say that she had fun on the sleepover and wanted to hang out more?
Yeah.
Okay. And when she said she thanked you for sleeping over and that she wanted to hang out more, did you respond to that?
Yes.
7/10/2014 at 10:34 a.m., please. Do you recall texting her that, or could you read that for us from you?
From Michelle or
From you. July 10, 2014, 10:34 a.m. from you.
Okay. I said, I'm happy to hear that. We had fun too. We can hang out again, no problem.
And does she respond to that at 11:23?
Yes.
And what does she say?
Okay, yay, awesome. And I'm happy you had fun.
Now we're going to jump forward a little bit in time from 11:23 a.m. to 3:01 p.m. If you click on that. Did you get a text from Michelle Carter around that time?
Yes.
What did she say?
He's missing, like they don't know where he is.
Did you ask who she's talking about?
Yes.
Click on that answer for me. And what do you say?
Ask if it's Conrad.
And does she respond?
Yes.
And do you ask another question?
He said, how did you find that out?
And did she respond to that at 3:04 p.m.?
Yes.
And what did she say?
She said, I texted his mom because I was getting really worried, like he always texts me in the morning, and he didn't, and he stopped answering last night. So I asked her if he was okay, and she said they've been looking for him the past few hours and they can't find him.
And now going forward to the same date, July 10th, 2014, 5:30 p.m. And did you get a text from Michelle Carter at that time starting, is there any way?
Yes.
Could you read that for us?
Is there any way a portable generator can kill you somehow? Because he said he was getting that in some other tools at the store, and he said he needed to replace the generator at work and fix stuff. I didn't really think anything of it, but he didn't go to work today, so I don't know why he would have got that stuff.
Now jumping forward to the next day, 7/11/2014, 10:34 p.m. Did you get a text from Michelle Carter at that time?
Yes.
Could you read it for us, please?
I just don't understand. We were supposed to hang out tonight, and he knew that. We were going to come visit you at the cow. I don't understand why he didn't text me what he was doing and why he isn't answering me or anything, or why he hasn't come home yet. I don't know what to do.
Now, had Michelle Carter told you that she was planning to come visit you at work that night or the night before?
I don't remember.
Based on your conversations with just the defendant, Michelle Carter, when was the last time she had told you she actually saw Conrad in person?
I don't remember. Probably a while ago, not that summer at all.
And then on July 11, 2014 at 10:59 p.m., do you ask her a question? The next one down. Did you ask her a question?
Yes.
What did you ask her?
Did the police get involved yet?
And did she respond to you?
I haven't asked yet. I've just been a mess. I assume they are. I'll find out tomorrow.
Now we're going to jump forward to, and I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions about July 12, 2014. Okay, Sam?
Sure.
Do you remember whether or not you worked that day or that night?
Yes.
And now, on the night of July 12, 2014, at 8:02 p.m., I'm going to ask you to read that text message, please, aloud.
Sam, he just called me, and there was a loud noise like a motor, and I heard moaning like someone was in pain, and he wouldn't answer when I said his name. I stayed on the phone for like 20 minutes, and that's all I heard.
Now, do you recall if you got that text message right away, Sam?
No, I didn't read that until after my shift.
And then that 7/12/2014, that's at 8:02. At 8:25, does Michelle Carter send you now another text that you received later on that night?
Yes.
And what did she tell you?
I think he just killed himself.
Now, the next day, 7/13/2014, do you reach out to her at 1:36 p.m. about why you didn't respond to her text message about that he killed himself? Do you say something to her? 10/13/2014, 1:36 p.m.
Yes.
And do you say something about not being able to answer?
Yes.
Now, later on that day, 7/13/2014, at 3:35 p.m., do you get a message from Michelle Carter?
Yes.
What did she ask you?
Can we do something tonight to get my mind off of it?
So on the 12th, the night of the 12th, she texts you that she believes that she was listening to Conrad and that he killed himself, correct?
Yes.
I'll allow it.
You then get that message later on that night or early the next morning, is that right?
Yes.
And then the next day, she asks you if you want to hang out.
Yes.
Do you then continue to communicate with her via text message in the days to follow? July 13th, July 14th, after Conrad is passed.
Yes.
July 14th, 2014, 10:39 a.m. Could you please read that text message, Sam?
I don't know how I'm supposed to get through this. I can't function. I haven't eaten. I just completely shut down. I do blame myself. It's my fault. I was talking to him while he killed himself. I heard him crying in pain. I should have known. I should have did something.
Do you recall having conversations with Michelle about arrangements for Conrad Roy? And by arrangements, I mean wake and funeral.
Yes.
And did Michelle Carter ask you via text message and or by phone to attend one or both of those?
Via text message.
Were you able to attend both of them?
No.
Why were you only able to attend one of them?
I was working.
And did anyone ask you to go to the arrangements or did you offer?
She asked me to.
Seven 2014, 11:04 p.m. Can you read that for me, please, Sam?
He was cremated, so it would be easier since we don't have to go bury him. I may be getting some of his ashes, though, which is nice.
Do you recall any other times where she spoke to you either in person or by text message where she was talking about maybe getting or asking for some of Conrad's ashes?
Not in person.
Do Do you recall ever having any conversations with the defendant about a suicide note that she said was left by Conrad for her?
Yes.
What do you remember hearing about that suicide note?
I remember that she wanted to have me drive her to pick up the note.
Did you ever actually drive any place with her?
No.
July 20th, 2014 at 2:50 p.m. Can you read that for me, please, from Michelle Carter to you?
I just got off the phone with his mom. She found a letter he wrote to me, and she read it to me, and it was so beautiful. Sam, why did he have to, why, just why? She's keeping it for me and said that I can come over this week and take home some of his things, and I just don't understand why it had to be him. He was the greatest man I ever knew, and I literally lived every day feeling like the luckiest girl in the world when I had him. I'm sorry for talking about this and stuff. I know it's annoying and I need to stop, so I'm sorry for bothering you about all this.
The fact that she's apologizing to you via text message was apologizing to you something that she did often?
Yes.
And was that something you actually spoke to her about?
Yes.
And what did you say to her?
I basically told her to not apologize to me ever.
July 21st, 2014, 10:45 p.m. Could you please read that text message for me, please, from Michelle Carter to you, Sam?
And I just got off the phone with Conrad's mom about 20 minutes ago, and she told me that detectives had to come and go through his things and stuff. It's something they have to do with suicides and homicides. And she said they have to go through his phone and see if anyone encouraged him to do it on text and stuff. Sam, they read my messages with him. I'm done. His family will hate me, and I could go to jail.
Do you recall getting that text message, Sam?
Yes.
Line 1, please. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do something else for a second. Tell us about Homework for Conrad. What do you know about that?
Homework for Conrad was a tournament that Michelle was putting on in Conrad's honor to raise money for mental health awareness.
And how did you find out about it?
Michelle told me.
Did you see anything about it on any sort of social media about it?
Yes.
And what did you see?
Sort of an advertisement for it or promoting it.
And did you offer or were you asked to help for Homework for Conrad?
Yes, she asked me to help her.
And did you have time to do anything to assist her?
I was kind of uninvolved in the organizing of the tournament, but I did attend the tournament.
Now, talk to me a little bit about the tournament. Were there teams from your school there?
Yes.
Do you know how many teams of kids from your school were there?
I'm not sure the number of teams. I'd say there's probably 16, 15, 14 people there maybe that I knew.
And how far away was the tournament from where you lived?
It was in Plainville, so it was probably like 20 minutes away.
Now, based on what your conversations with Michelle, because I'm going to limit you here, your conversations with Michelle or anything you observed with your own eyes, who did you believe to be Michelle's closest friends in September of 2014?
Objection. Sustained.
If I may be heard, Your Honor. At sidebar. Thank you. Cases. Can we switch over for a second to the normal, please? May I publish these, Your Honor?
To whom?
To Your Honor. May I put them
I'll
up on
look
the
at
screen?
them the same way I'm going to look at all the exhibits.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And you would agree with me that exhibit includes photographs of individuals young ladies from your school, and yourself, and Ms. Carter. that correct?
Yes.
September 1st, 2014, 12:21 p.m. Do you mind reading that one from the defendant to you?
A girl I made friends with from McLean messaged me today and said she's been discharged for about a month, but she's been having a really hard time. She saw my Homers for Conrad thing on Facebook, and she messaged me saying she's on the verge of killing herself, and she asked if I could help her because she saw that I'm like an advocate for mental health now, and I want to help save people any way I can. So I helped her, and she said I've saved her life. Just hearing that makes me feel like I can do something much more, that I'm doing something good. Like, it's all worth it, you know?
Yeah, do you recall on or about September 15, 2014 at 8:24 p.m. getting a lengthy sort of series of text messages from the defendant?
Not in particular, but
If I show it to you.
yes.
Could you please read this for us from the defendant to you?
Haha, okay, well hopefully that won't happen anytime soon. And while I'll try not to, but I always apologize for things, especially when I feel it's needed. And when she's divorced, so she like tells me that a lot of people on his side of the family, some aunts and uncles, and Conrad's grandpa like treats her kind of poorly and not supportive of what happened and stuff. Like Coco was very sensitive, and he took things to heart. And his grandpa and dad, her ex, didn't treat him that good and always pressured him and stuff, and it gave him so much anxiety. And I always told him not to spend as much time with them because he just couldn't handle it. And it made him worse by being around them, but he worked for them. Like they owned the tugboat company, and Coco always felt pressured to live up to their expectations. But with all issues and that stuff, he couldn't, and that was a big part of his decision to commit suicide. And so his mom just tells me how they, and like some aunts and uncles on that side, just don't have much sympathy, and his grandma especially doesn't seem to even care at all, which drives me insane. But his mom and I both agree he will live with the guilt. And she just like tells me all about that and about her new boyfriend and stuff. And I like that she tells me these things. I want to help her. I just get overwhelmed sometimes with what she says. Like she expects me to know what to tell her, and I want to tell her the best things I can, because I promised Coco I'd help his mom and sisters get through this. Like I told him I won't let them go through depression, and I told him I'd help them and always be there. But now that I think of it, you're right, she is depressed, so I failed Coco. I wasn't supposed to let that happen, and now I'm realizing I failed him. Sam, his death was my fault. Like honestly, I couldn't have stopped him. I was on the phone. I could have stopped him. I was on the phone, and he got out of the car because it was working, and he got scared, and I fucking told him to get back in Sam, because I knew he wouldn't do it. He would do it. He would do it all. All over again the next day, and I couldn't have him live the way he was living anymore. I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't let him. And therapy didn't help him, and I wanted him to go to McLean with me when I went, but he wouldn't go in the other department for his issue, but he didn't want to go because he said nothing they would do or say would help him or change the way he feels. So I started giving up because nothing I did was helping, but I should have tried harder, like I should have did more, and it's my fault because I could have stopped him, but I fucking didn't. All I had to say was, I love you, don't do this one more time, and he'd be here, and he told me he would give me signs to know he was watching over me, but I haven't seen any, and he just, I don't know, I'm sorry about this, Fran, I just need to get that off my chest, and it's finally all sinking in.
After she sent you that, did you send her words of comfort?
Yes.
Telling her it wasn't her fault.
Yes.
After you got that text message on September 15th, 2000, after Homers for Conrad, were you involved in DECA senior year?
Yes.
And who were your partners, Sam?
Lexi and Michelle.
Now, other than going to either the wake or the funeral with the defendant, did you see her any other times during the summer of 2014?
No.
Once school started, please describe your relationship with the defendant.
So I had multiple classes with Michelle senior year, including DECA.
Did you spend a lot of time with her?
Yes.
Did you notice any changes in her behavior between what she had been like junior year and what she was now like senior year?
I'm not sure.
In October of 2014, did the defendant tell you anything about what had happened, if anything, to her phone that she had been texting you on?
Yes.
And what did she tell you about that phone?
She told me that it was taken by police.
Do you remember where you were when she told you that?
No.
Do you remember her tone of voice or demeanor when she told you that?
Concern, probably.
And as senior year continued after October 2014, did you continue to spend time with her at school and working on DECA?
Yes.
How about anything else socially? Did you spend time with her outside of school, outside of DECA?
Yeah.
What types of things would the two of you do together the academic year 2014 and 2015?
Mostly we would be like doing DECA, and then we'd like hang out after, or we had study hall together, and so seniors were allowed to like go out to eat when they had study hall for lunch, and so I had a car, she didn't, so we sometimes would do lunch like that.
And you had testified earlier, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but prior to your junior year, the two of you had a lot of food conversations, correct?
Yes.
Did that continue on senior year with her coming to you for advice about food?
I basically didn't. We kind of broke it off on that just because I didn't really want to be involved in that anymore. It was something I think, was getting dealt by, she got help for that, or her family was more involved possibly, but I didn't want to have to be that crutch.
Nothing further. Thank you very much.
Very much. Donald?
Fine.
You and Michelle Cotter were close friends for a period of time during high school?
Yes.
And you used to socialize while at school?
Primarily, yeah.
And had classes together?
Yep.
And you also, at various points, you did a DECA program together?
Yep.
And you also communicated, as a lot of people do, by text messages, right?
Yes.
And would you say that you and Michelle Cotter text messaged each other for a period of maybe 6 or 7 months, virtually every single day?
Yes.
And it wouldn't surprise you to say that there are hundreds upon hundreds of pages of your text messages between you and Ms. Carter, if you printed them all out.
Yes.
And you just went over various text messages with the district attorney's office when they put it up on the big screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with me that was probably far less than 1% of all your conversations with Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And during the various text messages that you had with Michelle Carter, you spoke a lot about eating disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And yes.
Yes.
And that's also something you had an eating disorder yourself.
Yeah, I struggled with, eating, yeah.
Okay, so that's why the two of you talked in particular, that's why you gave her advice about what your history was, about your issues, and she did the same with you.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's all in your text messaging, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. And in your text messaging is also various conversations you had with Michelle Carter about Conrad Roy, is that right?
Yes.
You talked about Conrad Roy, some of which we've seen on the screen.
Yeah.
Is that right? But you also spoke about Conrad Roy in your text messaging back in June of 2014, didn't you?
I don't, possibly.
Okay.
You pulled it up.
You came in specifically on June 22nd of 2014. You became aware of a Conrad Roy, Michelle's friend, didn't you?
Yes.
And you also became aware, Michelle told you specifically, that Conrad Roy was suicidal, didn't she?
Yes.
And she told you various things about his mental state that she was concerned about.
Yes.
And isn't it true that you told her that you think that she should not...
Objection. Same objection, Your Honor.
I can put it up on the big screen.
No, I'm going to allow it.
Thank you.
And didn't you tell her that you thought that she shouldn't be talking to him?
I probably said something like, he needs to get help. This is out of your control kind of thing. I'm not sure exactly what I said.
And she... Do you recall telling her, I think that you talking to Conrad isn't a good thing for you?
Yes.
And did she go on to tell you that she thought that she had to try to help him somehow?
Yes.
And you and she, in June into July, did speak about Conrad Roy and his mental health issues and his suicidality?
Briefly, yeah.
And again, when you spoke about Conrad Roy with Michelle Carter, it was all in the text messaging.
Yes.
Did you ever talk at school about Conrad Roy?
I heard his name once in person that year. It's like,
Excuse me, what?
this is junior year? That's how my brain...
You in 2014 spring?
Yes. Okay, yeah. So we didn't talk about him in school. I think she brought his name up one time, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But
Okay.
really nothing.
So your conversations would be contained in the
Yes.
text messages that the court will be receiving?
Yes.
And also, you told Michelle Carter that she is an amazing person, haven't you? Light up the room.
Probably, yeah.
Okay? And then you also told her because there are so many people that love you.
Yes.
Nothing further.
You redirect.
Briefly, Your Honor. The messages that were just read by counsel where you said how wonderful she is, was that something you did sometimes to comfort her, try to make her feel good about herself?
If she expressed self-doubt, I think I'd try to assure her, yeah.
Nothing further, thank you.
We cross. You may step down, Ms. Boardman. Thank you for your assistance in this case. You are free to go.
Thank you.
Mr. Cornwell, have another way.
We do, Your Honor. Oh, first, if I could put those text messages in.
That is by stipulation, is that correct?
Yes.
Come in.
Number 20, Your Honor. Detective Scott Gordon, please, Your Honor.
All right.
Gordon, you should be in the room.
Morning, sir.
Please raise your right hand. This matter before the court, swear testimony about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right. Please take a seat. Keep your voice up nice and loud. Direct your conversation into the flat mic in front of you, not the upright one. And please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Scott Gordon, Gordon.
Mr. Gordon, you are a police officer, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
By what community are you employed?
Fairhaven.
And what is your role with the Fairhaven Police?
I'm currently assigned to the Detective Division
How long have you been assigned to the Detective Division?
since August of 2009.
Prior to that, did you serve with Fairhaven as a patrolman?
Yes, I did.
How long?
Since August of 2003, I was on patrol.
Other than with Fairhaven, have you had any other police work experience?
Yes, I worked for the town of Acushnet prior to Fairhaven.
How long did you work for Cushing?
Started there in December of '99.
Other than that, any other police experience?
I was SRO at Fairhaven High School for 2 years prior to becoming a detective.
So that's between the time you were a patrolman and the time you became a detective?
Yes.
Okay. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. So how long have you been a detective, sir?
Since August of 2009.
Can you tell us a little bit about the detective unit at Fairhaven, please? How many detectives are there?
Currently assigned are 4 detectives, 1 assigned to the DEA as well.
And what are your duties and responsibilities as a detective with the town of Fairhaven?
We investigate major crimes that are passed down from patrol.
What is considered to be a major crime?
Homicides, robberies, things of that nature.
So how does it work? The patrolman or patrolwoman will respond to the scene, and then a detective may be called at a later time?
Yes,
So do you keep regular hours?
we do.
Okay, what regular hours do you keep during the week?
We generally work 8 to 4.
Do you then ask to be on call as a detective as well?
Yes.
And how does that work?
It's somewhat of a rotation. If an incident happens that we need to be called out for, our sergeant will contact us, and an available detective will respond.
So drawing your attention to, in the days following July 13th, 2014, or July 13th itself, did you become aware of an ongoing investigation involving something or someone found in the Kmart parking lot in the town of Fairhaven?
Yes.
How did you become aware of it, Detective?
I became aware of it on Monday morning.
That would be July, just for the record, that would be July 14th you became aware of it.
Yes.
And how did you become aware of it, Detective?
Actually 2 ways. I read about it in the police log over the weekend, and I was also contacted by Conrad Roy Sr.
The police log is generated how, sir?
Police log is generated whenever a call comes into the station. They are dispatched out, and then a log of them going out to a call is created.
Is that something you normally do on a Monday morning?
Yes, at the beginning of every shift I do that.
If I can interrupt for just 1 second. So the record is abundantly clear, Detective. You said you were contacted by Conrad Roy Sr. I assume at some point in time you came to know that Conrad Roy III was the individual involved in the incident at the Kmart Plaza.
Yes.
So are you talking about the grandfather of...
Grandfather.
The grandfather contacted you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we have grandfather, father, Conrad, who's the one who's deceased, correct?
Correct.
So without going into details of what was in the log, you became aware of that something or someone had been found in the Kmart parking lot on the 13th, is that correct?
Yes.
How did Conrad Sr. get a hold of you?
Conrad Sr. contacted the station and got in touch with me just by a call coming down the detective stating that he had the password to the telephone.
Now, we're going to back up a little bit. Just yes or no, without going into the details of what anyone told you, did you become aware that a phone had been taken from the scene of the Kmart parking lot?
Yes.
And did you become aware, just yes or no, of whether or not that phone could be opened yet?
Initially, it could not.
And why couldn't one, meaning you, open it?
Initially, we did not have a password.
And how could you tell you needed a password?
I could tell we needed a password through reading the police report, and it said that there was no password at the time.
Can I grab that book, if I may, Your Honor? So you became aware that a password was needed, and now someone was calling you with said password.
Correct.
So what did you do then?
I attempted to locate the phone.
And we were able to locate the phone.
The next day, yes.
If I may approach with an exhibit, Your Honor?
May.
Thank you. Sir, I'm going to show you what's been marked for the record. Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this phone?
I do.
And what do you recognize this phone to be?
Conrad's phone.
And is there a post-it on the back?
Yes.
And what does that post-it mean, if anything, to you?
This is the password to enter the phone.
Thank you. So you now have the phone and you have the password. What do you do?
Once we have consent to go into the phone, I enter the phone and go through it.
Did you get consent to do that?
Yes.
And did you see anything on the phone?
Yes.
And what could you see? In general terms, could you see pictures, text messages, or phone calls? Let's not tell us what they said right now, but just what type of data could you see?
Anything that was, basically at that point, anything that wasn't erased from the phone, I could view.
And did you view it at that time, or did you wait until another time to view it?
I viewed it. I viewed it initially at that time.
What happened next, sir?
When I went into the text message portion of the phone, I observed that there was only one conversation thread available to view, and I clicked on it.
And did that conversation thread, does that mean it was just with one person?
Yes.
Did that have a name attached to it?
Yes, it did.
And what name was attached to it?
Michelle Carter.
Now, were there any other conversation threads on that phone other than Michelle Carter?
None.
What did you do next, sir?
I read some of the messages.
And based on that, what did you do next?
After reading the messages, I contacted the district attorney's office and Trooper Collins, and things were put in motion to have the phone extracted.
So let's back up a little bit. Have you worked, being a detective, have you worked with the state police on homicide or other related investigations?
Yes.
Could you please tell the court how it is that the local police end up working with the state police on unattended deaths? So how does that work?
So on unattended deaths, once it's determined that it's an unattended death, there's a call list that the dispatcher goes down, and they have to contact certain people. One of on that list is the district attorney's office, CPAC unit, who assists in unattended or homicide investigations with the local departments.
And did you know the particular trooper from CPAC unit that was assigned to this particular investigation?
Yes.
Who was that?
Excuse me, Joe Collins.
And so what did you do relative to the state police, if anything, after getting the password for the phone?
After I had the password, I brought the phone to the state police office and gave it to Trooper Giosi to do an extraction.
And was Trooper Giosi also employed at CPAC at that time?
Yes, he was.
And why were you giving it to Trooper Giosi?
Trooper Giosi had special training in downloading cell phones.
And did you possess that training at that particular time?
I did not.
So was the phone then handed over into the custody of the state police, sir, to be examined forensically?
Yes.
What did you do next?
That day, Trooper Giosi gave me an initial report of the text messages in the phone, and when I left the office, I possessed that form.
Now, prior to getting that report, had you followed up with the Roy family yet?
At that point, no.
Did you get an initial extraction or initial report from Dan Giosi?
I did.
Without going into the details now of what it said to you, based on the content of the extraction, did you believe you needed to investigate further?
I did.
So walk us through what you did.
Once we got the content and reviewed it, and speaking with the district attorney's office, we decided to set the ball rolling a little bit, as trying to investigate a little more of the content of the phone and a little more of the relationship between Michelle Carter and Conrad Roy.
And did that lead you to get some names of people who might be able to give you some insight into the life of Conrad Roy?
Yes.
And in doing so, sir, did you speak with a Thomas Gamble on or about Friday, July 18th of 2014?
Yes.
And I'm not going to ask you about the details of what he said, but where did you speak to Tom?
At the police station, Faven Police Station.
And yes or no, did you get some information from Tom about Conrad and who he was and what was going on with him?
Yes.
In addition to looking at the phone, sir, at that point, were you able to access any Facebook pages of anybody that might be involved in this?
At that point, I don't believe that we had reached that point yet.
On Monday, July 21st, 2014, did you meet with Conrad's mother, Lynn Roy?
I did.
Now, without going into any details of what she said to you, did you speak with her, yes or no?
Yes.
At that particular time, sir, did you inquire if Conrad had access or possessed any computers?
Yes.
And tell us about that. Were you able to get any computers at any time from Lynn Roy?
Yes, on that day, she explained that Conrad had access to 2 computers, and at that time they were both at Conrad Roy Jr.'s house in Mattapoisett.
They were at Dad's house.
Correct. And Mrs. Roy was already in the process of going there to pick up her daughters, so I accompanied her there, and I obtained both those computers at that time.
And did you then take those computers into your custody, sir?
I did.
At some point later, did you also speak to Conrad's father, Conrad Roy Jr.?
Yes, I did.
During the course of your investigation?
Yes.
While you're doing these interviews and further your investigation, are you having an opportunity to continue to look at the phone download or extraction from Conrad Roy's phone?
Yes.
And based on the extraction, was it still including essentially just a conversation between that phone and someone by the name of Michelle Carter?
Yes.
So as time went on, sir, did you try to get information on who Michelle Carter was in relation to Conrad Roy?
Yes.
And what did you try to do?
I spoke with Mrs. Roy about Michelle Carter. I spoke with Mr. Roy about Michelle Carter. And we also did basic searches on the computer for Facebook and things of that nature.
And based on speaking with Conrad's mom and dad and doing that, were you able to get, just yes or no, a lot of information about Michelle Carter?
Yes.
And were some searches, at least basic searches, done of the computers at that time?
Yes.
And of Facebook?
Yes.
Did you have access to Conrad's Facebook? This would be the third, Conrad's, the third's Facebook.
Not much at that point, just what the public was able to see through a Facebook search.
Did you become aware of staying in touch with the Roy family that there was something called Homers for Conrad?
Yes.
And do you recall who made you aware of that? Not what they said, but just who may have told you about it.
I believe initially it was Mr. Roy.
And at that point, sir, was someone from your department tasked to go to Homers for Conrad and observe?
Yes.
And who was that, please?
Detective Glenn Cudmore.
And just yes or no, were you aware of whether or not he observed Homers for Conrad?
Yes.
Not anything you told, but you're aware that he observed it?
Yes.
Did you ever come to interview any of the friends or classmates of the defendant, Michelle Carter, to get more information about her?
Yes.
Who did you speak with?
I spoke with Sam Boardman, Renee Poria, Olivia Masalgo, and a few others.
At some point while in touch with and where did you interview those kids?
Olivia Masago was at her home. The others were done at King Philip High School.
Throughout this time, sir, were you staying in touch with the Roy family?
Yes.
At that time, just yes or no, had you told the Roy family what you had found on Conrad's phone?
No, exactly at what point in time are we talking?
It's a good question, Your Honor. Prior to Homers for Conrad in September, I'll try to use a particular time frame. Prior to Homers for Conrad in September, Detective, had you yourself told the Roy family what you had seen on Conrad's phone, namely the conversation between him and Michelle?
No.
So you hadn't told the Roy family really what you were even investigating at that point?
Not at that point, no.
Did there come a time where you found out that there was a note or a note from left, or might be called a suicide note, left from Conrad addressed to Michelle found at one of the Roy homes?
Yes.
How did you find that out, Detective?
I believe that was told to me by Mrs. Roy.
And as a result of that, sir, what did you do?
That was in a notebook, and that was provided to me by Mrs. Roy when I first met with her on July 21st.
Did you tell the Roy family, or specifically Ms. Roy, why you were taking that suicide note addressed to Michelle?
Not at that time.
Did you consider the investigation to be very much ongoing at that time?
Yes.
Around the time of Homers for Conrad, did you have an opportunity to speak to Tom Gamble?
Yes.
And without going into great detail of what you talked about, did you speak to him about an exchange he had with Michelle Carter about Homers for Conrad?
Yes, I did.
So he told you about that?
Yes.
So now, sort of moving closer to October 2014, can you tell us a little bit about, before you get search warrant for the defendant's phone and computers, can you tell the court a little bit about what you knew at that time?
We knew that the defendant had conversation with Conrad. We had received information from Verizon of the constant contact during and after Conrad's death on her cell phone. And with everything we had compiled through our investigation at that point, I applied for a search warrant for her phone.
And when you applied for a search warrant for her phone, were there separate search warrants or a search warrant for any laptops or computers she might also use?
From her home, yes.
Now, after you applied for the search warrants for her phone and any computers she had access to, were those search warrants granted?
Yes, they were.
So after those search warrants were granted on or about Thursday, October 2nd, 2014, did you attempt to execute those search warrants?
Yes.
Could you please tell us how you attempted to get the defendant's phone?
Yes. On October 2nd, myself and Detective Sergeant Vitello went to the area and ultimately located Michelle in the gym at King Philip High School.
And was there then a conversation between yourself, Sergeant Vitello, and the defendant?
Yes.
And that person who spoke to Michelle Carter, who identified herself to be Michelle Carter, is that person in this room today?
Yes, she is.
Could you please point to that person, tell us something that person is wearing?
She's wearing a dark colored jacket.
And could you point to the person, please?
All right. The record will reflect that this witness has identified the defendant as the individual he understands to be Michelle Carter.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you then have a conversation with the defendant?
Yes.
Did you attempt to record that conversation in any manner?
Yes.
How did you record it?
A handheld device.
And was that later transferred, was that handheld recording then transferred to a CD at some time?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
And is that CD marked Carter at King Phillips High School?
Yes.
And would this be a recording of your interaction with the defendant?
Yes.
I just need a moment, Your Honor, because I don't know how to use the player on this to play on the computer. Can I have 1 moment?
Why would we play it?
Your Honor, hadn't
Is
heard
it
it
coming
since.
in?
It is. I hope so.
We are not going to play things that I'm going to listen to myself if it has been admitted as an exhibit, and it is a part of the record once it is admitted as an exhibit. The same situation as yesterday's video.
I understand, Your Honor. It
Okay.
just said you had not heard it since the motion was pressed. That's why the Commonwealth was offering to play it.
I assure you, I am going to read every page and listen to everything.
With the court, I also have a transcript of it. Would the court like me to provide the...
Is there an objection to me having the transcript as well?
Yes, there is, Your Honor.
Okay, then. I was just
All
offering.
right. Then I'll just take the disc.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There's no objection to
Can we
this.
go to sidebar on this?
Sure.
Did you get a password for that cell phone?
Yes.
Did you get that from Ms. Carter?
Yes.
And the court could hear that on there, correct?
Correct.
After that conversation was over, sir, did you become aware or were you alerted that one of the defendant's family members was outside the school?
Yes, her father was.
As a result of that, where did you, Sergeant Vitello, and the defendant go?
We went out to her father's vehicle.
And without going into the details of what was said, did you have an exchange with the defendant's father?
We did.
And was there a discussion about what maybe could happen next?
Yes.
And ultimately, where did you guys go? You guys, meaning you, Sergeant Vitello, the defendant, and her father.
We went back to the defendant's home.
And when you got to the defendant's home, did you have a conversation with anybody there?
Yes.
Who did you speak with?
Michelle and her father.
And at some point, was the defendant's mother also present at some point during this exchange?
Yes.
And during that time, what was your intention? What were you looking for at the house?
We were looking for any devices that had internet connectivity.
And did you inquire if there were any laptops that the defendant had access to rather than just rooting around the house yourself?
Yes.
And did they point you in a direction of a laptop?
Yes.
What was done with that laptop, sir?
We took the laptop.
So at this point, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a phone from Conrad, a phone from Michelle, 2 laptops from the Roy family, 1 laptop from the defendant's house. Would that be some total of devices at this particular time?
Yes.
All right. So, you have the search warrant for the defendant's phone and the defendant's computer. May I approach, Your Honor?
May?
Thank you. So I'm going to show you an item that's in 2 pieces right now. Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that item to be?
Michelle Carter's cell phone.
So this is the defendant's phone that you took that was given to you on October 2nd, 2014,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, I move to introduce.
May I object? With respect to all electronic devices, they may be shown in the presence to the clerk if somebody wants to see them, but they are not to be handed over to anyone requesting it from the public at this point in time. I want to make sure that the integrity of those devices is preserved, so nobody gets access to those other than to look at them. So that is the ruling of the court. Yes, they can be photographed, but they don't get handed over to anybody. All right?
And Your
Anybody
Honor-
have an objection to that ruling?
No.
Okay.
And Your Honor, by agreement, we will not be putting the laptops in.
Oh, all right, okay. Well, I didn't know how much was coming in. I
I
saw
think
a
we'll
big box
stop
walk
there.
in here, so I wasn't sure.
We'll just be putting the phones on, and they're both not charged right now, Your Honor.
All right, okay, well, that's better.
They can't be utilized, I don't think.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not going to put the laptops in, but we'll agree that this time 2 from the Roy family, 1 from the Carter household.
Yes.
And what were you going to have done with the computers?
We were going to have state police extract the information out of them.
And how about the defendant's phone?
Same.
And I'm going to really just focus on the defendant's phone right now. At some point, did you become aware that it was extracted?
Yes.
And did you get a report from it?
I did.
At least a preliminary report. And did you take a look at it?
I did.
And fair to say there was a lot of information on it.
Yes.
And did you take the time to read that extraction report and read some of the thousands of text messages?
Yes.
And did that provide you, did Michelle, the defendant's phone, provide you with additional information that had not been on Conrad's phone?
Yes.
When you looked at the extraction from the defendant's phone, was there, you indicated that on Conrad's phone there was a single strand, one conversation between Conrad Roy's phone and the defendant, correct?
Correct.
When you looked at the extraction report from the defendant's phone, were there far more strands of conversation, meaning communications between the defendant's phone and multiple other people?
Yes.
And without going into all of them, I'm just going to ask you about a few. Did you see communication with Sam Boardman?
I did.
And Lexi Evelyn or Evelyn?
Yes.
And Olivia Masalgo?
Yes.
But identified as Olivia on the phone?
Yes.
At that time, had you already interviewed those people, or did you interview them after you saw their names in the phone?
After.
So, you take this extraction report and you begin to identify people in her phone.
Yes.
Was Sam Boardman, based on your reading of the extraction of the defendant's phone, was Sam Boardman someone that you wanted to talk to?
Yes.
And did you in fact talk with her?
I did.
And based on the extraction from the defendant's phone, was Olivia Masalgo or Libby in her phone someone that you wanted to talk to?
Yes.
And you did?
I did.
And was Renee Poirier someone who had texts between her and the defendant that were of interest to you in your investigation of the death of Conrad Roy?
Yes.
And did you speak to Renee
Yes.
Poirier? At some point, you also speak with Alexandra, Evelyn, or Evelyn,
yes.
And her father.
Yes.
Thank you. And just yes or no, during your conversations with these young ladies, did you have the extraction report? Did you go over some text messages with these young ladies?
Yes, I did.
And was it after the phones were downloaded, you had spoken to the Roys, and you spoke to the defendant and the people in her phone, was it after that that you applied for an arrest warrant?
Yes.
Can I have one moment, please, Your Honor?
Of course.
Did you also get some search warrants for Facebook?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Gentlemen, is someone cross-examining Detective Gordon?
Yes. Good afternoon, Detective. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Detective, there were a couple of computers that you obtained from the Roy households.
Yes.
And which were they?
On July 21st, 2014, I believe it was a MacBook laptop and a Dell laptop.
Did you inquire if there were any other computers that Conrad Roy III utilized?
At that time, the answer to that question was those were his two computers.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The answer to that question on that date was those are the two computers that he used.
Okay, and did you come to learn that there was a third computer?
Later on, yes.
And which one was that?
I believe it was a full-size Mac that belonged to his mother.
Okay. Were there any other electronic devices that you became aware of that it was using?
At that time, I don't recall anymore.
And the two that are in the courtroom today are the Dell laptop and the MacBook?
I would suggest, I haven't seen what's in here, but I would guess those two are in here, yeah.
Okay, and what about the Mac, if you're aware of?
I don't know.
Okay. And what did you do with the Dell and the MacBook?
They were handed over to state police.
Okay. And who in particular? Was there anyone in particular?
I'm sorry, at that time, it was either Giosia or Mike Bates.
Okay. And the Mac that you came to, the third device that you came to learn about, did you take that and give that to somebody too?
That was also given to Mike Bates.
Okay. Of the state police?
Of the state police.
Did you know the Roy family personally?
I did not.
And at some point in time, you found out that there was a suicide and you wanted to investigate it.
Correct.
And did you go in and locate the iPhone of Conrad Roy?
Yeah, at some point, yes.
Okay, and was it already powered up and on, or was it off?
It was off.
Okay, and you powered it up?
I believe the battery was dead. I think I had to plug it in.
Okay.
But yeah, it was eventually powered up.
Okay, and after it was powered up, did you put it in airplane mode or just start accessing what was there?
I don't believe at that point I believe I just opened it up.
Okay, and do you know whether or not at any point in time you ever put it in an airplane mode?
I can't speak to that, if I did or didn't.
You just have no memory of it one way or another?
I actually don't.
Okay. Isn't that important for you, being a detective, to make sure you put a phone that's recovered from a scene into airplane mode?
Generally, yes.
Okay, and you, on this case, you at some point were investigating a death. Is that right?
Yes.
And you didn't think to put this phone into airplane mode? You just don't have any memory of it?
I think my answer was I didn't recall if I did it or not.
Okay. And how long did you, before the time when you had the phone, how long did you go through the phone and look at it?
I went through it for a little while.
Okay. An hour? An hour? An hour? And you had come to learn that Conrad Roy was found deceased in the Kmart parking lot.
Correct.
And did you go to the Kmart parking lot and speak to any Kmart employees?
At what point?
At any point?
No.
And did you go to the Kmart lot to see if they had any videotape surveillance?
I knew they didn't.
Okay. And did you speak, however, you didn't speak to any of the employees at Kmart?
No.
And did you try to ascertain any individuals who were located in the Kmart parking lot on July 12th at approximately between the hours of, say, 6:30 and midnight?
No.
Did you attempt to even do that?
No.
And did you obtain any videotape surveillance from any other surrounding stores in the Kmart area?
No.
Did you attempt to do that?
I know the Citizens Bank does not have external video, and the others wouldn't have been able to see that area.
The others what, please?
There's no video pointing to the area.
Okay. Are you aware that there are some stores out on the various roads in that area that do have video surveillance?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And did you go over to any of those stores to look at their video surveillance?
No.
In some of those stores, what's the major route? Right?
Route 6.
Route 6. And some of those stores are located on Route 6?
The stores with video?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Including 7-Eleven, for instance?
There's a 7-Eleven, yes.
And at some point in time, there was a water pump that you observed. Is that correct?
I personally never saw the water pump, but there was a water pump in the pictures, yes.
And when did you start to investigate this? Was it on the Monday?
Yes, Monday.
Okay, so this would be Monday, July 14th.
July 14th, yes.
And so would you be considered the lead detective investigating an officer on this?
I'd say so.
And why, is there some reason that you didn't go and look at the water pump?
At that point in time, I didn't feel it was necessary at that point.
And did you ever run any tests or have any tests run on the water pump to see how much carbon monoxide its output capacity of carbon monoxide?
No.
Okay. Did you think to even do that?
No.
And do you know where that water pump is today?
I do not.
Okay. And is it fair to say that it is outside of the grasp of law enforcement?
That is fair to say.
And you think it's been destroyed or scrapped?
I was told it could be anywhere.
Told it could be anywhere. Who told you it could be anywhere?
Mr. Roy.
When you say now Mr. Roy, which Mr. Roy?
Junior.
Okay, so...
Conrad's father.
Do you know who turned the water pump over to Mr. Roy?
On the 12th? On the 13th, I mean?
Is that what you came to learn? It was the 13th?
I'm sorry, I'm not...
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is I'm trying to find out what happened to the water pump. Is it fair to say that law enforcement gave it back to the Roy family?
Yes.
And since then, it's gone.
Correct.
And when did you learn that it was gone?
I think when I was asked by you.
Okay. And now in your investigation into this situation, you had an opportunity to review an extraction report. Is that correct?
Yes, a couple.
Okay. And is it safe to say that you saw that Conrad Roy, and I apologize if I just use Conrad Roy, I'm usually
I know what you
talking
mean.
about the third. Okay. Unless I say otherwise. So, did you review all of his text messaging that he had with various people?
I reviewed most of the report, yes.
Okay. And did you see that he was communicating with other people?
Yes.
Okay. When I say other people, other than Michelle Carter?
Yes.
Okay. Is it safe to say that you didn't contact each and every one of those people?
Yes.
And you also saw that Conrad Roy was in his various text messaging claiming to have spoken about obtaining poisonous seeds. Is that correct?
I do recall something in his phone with that, yes.
And what did you do to ascertain who he was speaking to about obtaining poisonous seeds?
Nothing.
And you also saw in his various text messaging that Conrad Roy was speaking to somebody from Great Britain about how to kill himself.
I saw that, yes.
And what did you do to ascertain the identity of that person from Great Britain?
Nothing.
In the pickup truck that Conrad Roy was found deceased in, that was turned over to the Roy family, is that right?
Yes.
And that was turned over, was it the same day that the truck was located on July 13th?
Yes.
And was it the very next day or 2 days later the automobile, this truck was broken into?
Yes.
And items were stolen?
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
You have personal knowledge of this, Detective. Did you investigate that break-in?
I did not.
Sustained.
You're not like to be heard on that then. That's a
Go ahead.
Bowden-type defense. If he didn't even investigate a breaking in of the vehicle.
Well, he has admitted he did not investigate. So you have that admission on the record. You have not established that he had an obligation to do so. There are 4 detectives in this department, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was that question?
There are 4 detectives in the department. So before you can get into the Bowden issue, you have to establish that this gentleman had an obligation himself, as opposed to someone else, to do that investigation.
Is it fair to say you came to learn that that truck was broken into?
I did.
Okay. And what did you do to ascertain, if anything, the identity of the people who broke into it?
I was told who did it.
You were told who did it?
Yes.
By the Roy family?
Yes.
Okay. And they told you that it was an Ariana Taylor?
Yes.
And that was one of Conrad Roy's III's friends?
Correct.
And she broke into it and stole items out of it?
That's how it was initially reported, yes.
Okay. And do you also understand that there were certain items in this automobile? Well, at that point of the break-in, you hadn't reviewed any of the items in the automobile.
I never did, no.
Okay. And did you yourself go and interview Ariana Taylor?
No.
Ariana Taylor is somebody that Conrad III was speaking to via his communications, his electronic communications, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you never spoke to her even though she was a friend of Conrad's?
Oh, I spoke with her during the course of the investigation, yeah.
You did speak to her?
Yeah, we interviewed her, yeah.
Okay. And you never brought up you never asked her why she broke into the truck and what she stole?
No, we spoke with her about it.
Okay. You didn't?
Yes.
Okay, and what did she steal?
I don't believe we got into that. She admitted to being there with another female. The items
There being where?
where the vehicle was.
Okay.
And she also, I believe, told us that it was everything that was returned to the family, and they were fine with it.
No, but I think you just started that sentence by we didn't get into all of it. Is that what you said?
I don't believe she itemized what was taken or what she thought was taken at that time.
Okay. Did she explain why she broke into the automobile just days after her friend, just days after her friend, just days after her friend, just days after her friend? Fair to say?
Yes.
There it's electronic, his iPhone, I think it was, wasn't it? iPhone?
Yes.
And you went through the extraction report. You went through the extraction
Yes.
report. And there were various websites that he was referencing. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And did you investigate or contact anyone from those various websites?
From the websites? No.
From the websites. And some of these websites were instructions on how to kill yourself. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you didn't think to go investigate any of those companies?
I knew how he did it.
Okay. Okay. But you didn't go and speak to the people of what communications they had with Conrad Roy?
No.
Were you able to determine all of the different blog sites that he was going on and reviewing?
Some of them, yes.
Some, but not all of them.
No.
At some point you filed charges against Michelle Carter, fair to say?
Yes.
And prior to filing charges against Michelle Carter, you had not reviewed all of Conrad Roy's electronic devices, had you?
No.
And prior to, so therefore you didn't have the opportunity to go through and see all his internet searches on these various devices, did you?
No, I did not. I don't believe that it was available at that point.
And when you say it's not available, why not?
I don't believe it was extracted fully and available to us at that point.
Okay, so you didn't wait, you just went ahead and filed charges before those were reviewed.
Yes.
And prior to filing charges, had you reviewed any of Conrad Roy's psychiatric records?
Other than what the family said, I hadn't received records, no, only the conversation with the family.
One moment, please, sir. Of course. Have we approached that document?
Right.
Months?
Yes.
All right, is it maybe, you got to say, over a year? I mean, you've been...
Yes, it's been continuing yet.
Okay. And you are aware that the district attorney for Bristol County was Thomas Quinn, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, and you are also aware that he is cousins with Conrad Roy, the decedent, aren't you?
I became aware of that, yeah.
Okay. Nothing further.
Thank you very much. Redirect?
When did you become aware of that, sir?
What's that?
When
Oh,
did you
I'm sorry.
become, I'm sorry, Your
Oh,
Honor. Detective, when did you become aware of that?
During the case of the investigation, I really couldn't give you a time. I think after he was appointed, I think it came up.
Well, who was the district attorney when Conrad Roy died, the third died?
Sam Sutter.
Was Tom Quinn even the district attorney at the time you began to investigate it?
No, ma'am.
Whose idea was it to investigate this case, to investigate what appeared initially to be a suicide?
District attorney was?
No, detective was.
Mine.
And when did you decide, sir, at what point in what you've gone through with us did you decide that this, what appeared to be simply a suicide, needed further investigation, needed your time, detective? When did you decide that?
Shortly after I opened the phone.
And when you opened the phone, what did you see? When you opened Conrad's phone, what did you see, detective?
I saw messages from Michelle that it was encouraging him to commit suicide.
Now, just so the record is abundantly clear, Detective, you opened the phone on July 14th?
Yes.
And when you saw those text messages and saw what they said, detective, what did you, not what anyone told you, as detective in charge of this case, what did you decide to do when you saw those text messages on Conrad Roy's phone? What did you decide to do?
To get to the bottom of it.
And counsel asked you about video surveillance. How long have you been a detective with Fairhaven?
Since '09.
is one of your jobs as a detective with Fairhaven is to know where there's surveillance videos?
Yes.
Why do you need to know that?
We've solved many cases through the use of video surveillance throughout town, and it's been helpful in past homicide cases, actually, so we're pretty familiar with where the videos are in town.
And just yes or no, do you detectives share information about where various surveillance videos are in the town of Fairhaven, so you guys all know where they are?
I think we have a pretty good understanding where most are, yes.
And relative to the Kmart parking lot, especially because we're going to go there in a few minutes, can you tell the court where surveillance videos would be?
I know McDonald's has some, but they don't point to that area of the Kmart lot. As far as to that specific area where Conrad was found, as far as I know, at that time and still today, there is no video covering that area.
At any time after Sam Sutter, strike that, were you the lead detective on this case?
Yes,
Who applied for the search warrants?
I did.
Who executed the search warrants?
I did.
And who's been investigating this case for the past 3 years since Conrad Roy's body was found? Who's been investigating this case?
Me.
Now, defense counsel asked you if you looked for the water pump, right?
Yes.
And to check the CO levels?
Yes.
And had you heard what the medical examiner said as far as how Mr. Roy had passed away?
Yes.
At what point in time, counsel?
At any point in time, did you become aware of how he had passed away?
Yes.
And and this is just offering this for your state of mind, sir, but were you told how he died?
Yes.
And how did he die, based on the information you had?
Objection. I'll take it to Bene, subject to a motion to strike.
From the reports received from the medical examiner, it was my understanding that he died as a result of CO2.
So, based on what you knew, did you have concerns that the water pump didn't have enough CO2 to kill him?
No, I did not.
Nothing further.
Any recross?
Just on that point. Detective, you just answered the question, did you have any concerns if that water pump had killed him? Fair to say that you never examined the water pump?
I've never had it in front of me.
And no tests were run on that whatsoever?
Correct.
So you're surmising, fair to say, is from what the other officers told you, that that particular water pump actually caused Conrad Roy's death?
Yes.
Nothing.
All set?
Nothing, thank you.
Detective, thank you very much. You are free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for your assistance. All right, we will be in recess now. We are going to convene at the location where Mr.